Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Here to the Exeter Planning Board meeting of Thursday, November 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Nowak Room of the Town Office Building and located at 10 Front Street, Exeter, New Hampshire, to consider the following. And we're going to have first I'd like to introduce the board members this evening. I'm Langdon Plummer, and to my left,
Aaron Brown.
Gwen English.
Nancy Belanger, Select Board Representative.
okay?
Marty Kennedy.
Dean Hubbard. Sam McLeod.
This evening, one of our members is not going to be able to be with us, John, so I'm going to ask Dean to fill in for him this evening. And Jen will be joining us later on, but in the meantime, I'm going to ask Sam to fill in for her. Okay. First, we need to look at the minutes of October 23. And review those. Any comments or concerns?
One of
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on line 60, where it's noted that John Lanzetta spoke with various attorneys, it just has Laura. I think it would be appropriate to put Town Council Laura Spector, and I honestly don't know how to spell her last name, but instead of just having Laura. You see on that
Yep.
line 60?
Yes, yes. Full name, yep.
And I made a statement on line 134. I'd like to have everything after son be deleted in that sentence. So I don't believe I said that. I don't think I said anything about agreeing something covered might be more suitable. That wasn't really what I intended to say if I said it, so.
So what portion?
So the and agreed something covered might be more suitable to eliminate that. I think he was paraphrasing and it really lost the intent of my comment.
Okay.
I think that was all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
I have, I think,
Yep.
two. On line 76,
76, trombones.
it's just, the wording is just a little odd. It says, Mr. Kennedy questioned whether, when in the MUD district, if the requirement and so on. I think what I was saying was, I was basically asking the question, doesn't the planning board need to determine if the MUND applies in this case? I don't know how it got to that language, but that's what I was saying. I don't know if that says the same thing.
Well, should they review that?
Yeah, I don't know word for word what I said, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that.
Well, perhaps we can have the scriber here review the video and
That's
see.
fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got one. I don't normally do this, but on 124, Vice Chair Brown recommended a robust parking plan. It was not a parking plan, it was a planting, it was a landscape plan in front of a property that I was referencing.
Planting plan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion to approve as corrected?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2025, with the changes as noted at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second? Thank you. Voice vote, please. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Mr.
Thank you
Chair,
very
I'm
much.
abstaining.
Excuse me?
Aye.
Abstention? Okay. Okay, moving along here. The application of Hoyt, Tanner and Associates on behalf of the Society of the Cincinnati in the state of New Hampshire for a lot line adjustment of the common boundary between the properties located at 164 Water Street and Governor's Lane. Subject property are located in the C1 Central Area Commercial Zoning District. Tax map parcels number 72-206 and number 72-215. Planning board case number 25-9. And Carol, did you have some comments,
Yes,
please?
this is a lot line adjustment that is going to take some land away from one lot and add it to another lot, the purpose of which is to put the tavern on its own property, which right now is, the property line goes right through the building. So it's, that's the primary purpose of this, is to simply make that arrangement. We've had the plan submittal and supporting documentation. Staff have reviewed this to make sure that there is no issue with zoning through the lot line adjustment. So in our opinion, this is a complete application that is ready for the board to accept.
Okay. That being the case, would I like to have a motion to accept this case, please? Somebody open it, I mean?
So moved.
Okay, second, please.
Second.
Voice vote, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Nays? Abstentions? Motion carries. Who's speaking this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Laura Chadbourne. I'm an attorney with McLean Middleton, based in our Portsmouth.
Can you speak into the microphone, because I want to hear you, and all our viewers at home are just waiting to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Sorry, I apologize. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the planning board. My name is Laura Chadbourne. I'm an attorney with McLean Middleton in our Portsmouth office. I'm here tonight with Michael Todd, who's the surveyor with Hoyle Tanner. We're here on behalf of the Society of the Cincinnati in the state of New Hampshire, who is the applicant. The society owns both properties, and we're seeking a lot line adjustment for the common boundary line. We have the plan that was submitted along with the application and some supporting materials with our package. As Ms. Ogilvy said, the plan shows the existing Folsom Tavern that is straddling the lot line, and the proposal is to adjust the boundary line such that the Folsom Tavern would be completely on the lot. It's map 27206. And then the American Independence Museum is the other building that's on map 72, lot 215. And that will continue to remain there. But the adjustment of the common boundary line is really simply to provide for a more reasonable adjustment and to avoid the tavern being down the center of the existing lot line.
Okay, that's good.
And if the board has specific questions for me, I'm happy to answer those, or specific questions on the plan.
Okay.
I would defer to Mr. Todd.
Well, let's hear from the surveyor, so you could describe it and tell us a little more about the location of those things.
So the part.
Again, please use the microphone.
Sorry.
And you got to speak close to this puppy.
So the portion being transferred from lot 215 is kind of in the top center up by the words Water Street. That's labeled as parcel A. It's approximately a third of an acre. Oh. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So this is parcel A. This is this area is approximately a third of an acre. The properties are both located in the C1 commercial district. And this lot configuration exceeds all the zoning requirements for that district. I'm not sure if you have any specific questions as far as.
So the dotted line is currently existing.
That's the existing line here.
That'll be removed.
Correct. That will be eliminated, and the Folsom Tavern parcel will have this additional land as well as the existing parcel, which comes down to the Governor's Lane and over to Spring Street.
Do you know how that issue was created in the first place?
And move the building there.
I think at one point, as I understand, there was a lot line adjustment in the works, which for some reason was never fully completed. Aside from that, I'm not really certain. It's been this way for a little while now, and it was before we began working on it.
So it's pretty unusual to see a lot line go through the middle of a building.
And historically, so Folsom Tavern used to be in the center of town
Yeah.
across from the bandstand.
Been
and
moved
then
3 times.
It moved several times.
Okay.
And in 2004, it was moved to where it sits today. But I don't know why they put it
Yeah.
right in the middle of the lot line.
Yeah.
So, and as Michael said, it's roughly 15,000 square feet that we're looking to adjust. So the new proposed lot line will nicely separate the 2 lots where the Folsom Tavern will be completely on its own.
Yeah.
Any other questions that the board may have? Seems pretty straightforward. Does anybody in the public like to speak to this? If you would, I'd like to have you step forward to the podium and introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are. Well, seeing none, I'll close the public portion of this meeting and bring it back to the board. Questions or concerns? Seems to make sense to me, but
Looking for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
All right. I move that the request of Hoyle, Tanner and Associates, Planning Board Case Number 25-9 for a lot line adjustment approval be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So let's do a hand vote on this one. Those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed, so no abstentions. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See if the grass grows greener on the other side of the fence.
There's a little cynicism in that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for all your help. I appreciate it.
Okay, the next case on our agenda is an application of, actually, this is not a case. It's a discussion. And it's the desire of the developer is to come in and share their thinking with us, the board, and if the public has some comments to make, you'll have an opportunity to certainly do that. Basically, we do take no action, except for maybe agreeing that we've heard the discussion is complete. But other words, it's just get an idea of what's coming down the road. And so it's an application by Chinburg Development LLC for a preliminary concept review. Preliminary concept is what's important here. Of a redevelopment proposal for the property at 65-67½ Main Street to include demolition of existing structures and proposed construction of a new single-family detached units. Property is located in the R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District. It's tax map parcel number 63-256, and is planning board case number 25-10. And Carol, do you have some comments to, we're not opening it, and so, do you have any comments at all?
Not really.
Okay.
We don't have a typical staff report since, as you know, this
Right.
is just a preliminary discussion, so we merely provided you with all the information.
Yeah, thank you. The floor is yours, my dear.
Good evening, thank you. Alex Monastero on behalf of Chimberg Builders. We recently purchased the parcel at 65 to 67.5 Main Street. As it exists today, it's a 0.84 acre parcel with 3 existing buildings that have 7 multifamily units between the buildings on site. Chimberg is
Do you have a location map at all?
Yeah, I can certainly orient you. I have one if you guys want to take
Just maybe a description, where are you?
Yeah, we're right across from the Shell station, right next to the Townhomes on Main project that was redeveloped by Frank Catapano.
Across from Lincoln Street.
Yeah.
Kind of-
Right there on the bottom shop.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Right next door, yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
prior to Lincoln Street.
Yep.
Right.
The building that you see from the street is, a pretty typical looking colonial, but in the back there are 2 small brick carriage house style buildings. So if you walked by, you've probably seen those.
It's a pretty good sized lot.
It is, yeah. So the proposal that we have before you, again, very preliminary and conceptual in nature. We wanted to get in front of you early on to get feedback so that we can incorporate it and hear from our neighbors if they're here. So we can incorporate that as we move into a more formal design. I do also have some renderings that we have created. I'm happy to share with you all. I have it up on the board as well. We've preliminarily engaged Winter Holben, who's a local architect, to create a floor plan to place on the site so we could have a visual representation of what we're thinking out there. And so if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I can pass these out, or I can hold on to them, whatever you prefer.
Well, why don't you pass them out? Trying to put the effort to put them together.
So we've had some initial conversations with the planning department and with your interim planner. Everybody's been wonderful, as well as the fire chief. And so we have some of their input on the site and in this design, but we'll certainly continue to incorporate that as we go into a full design here. So the intent is to take down the existing buildings, redevelop as we think 6 single-family detached condos, meeting the height requirements and the existing setbacks for the parent parcel. Since this is a redevelopment, the parcel itself is grandfathered for the 7 units. We're proposing just 6 here. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but primarily here to look for feedback and thoughts on the redevelopment so that we can take that into consideration as we move forward in the design.
Questions? In our packet, you provided us with, I think, 4 different arrangements.
That's right.
Well, 2 or 5 units and 2 or 6 units, okay.
Yeah, and as we have further explored the site, where we're leaning right now is the layout that has 2 units facing the driveway and then the 4 sort of clustered units in the back. This will have to be further explored as we get into a full site design and think about, grading and driveway creation and drainage and things like that. But that is what you see depicted in the renderings that I passed out to you.
Is that this one?
That's correct.
Is the square footage that you're showing on these, is that just a single floor?
Yes, that's the box size. The
Approximately how
1,000.
many square feet would the
About
unit be?
3,000, 2,500 to 3,000, depending on the unit. Again, very preliminary, but that's the intention, is somewhere in that range.
Does this meet the height restriction or whatever? I know they were trying to develop the other one on the
Yep.
other side.
Would you please step to the microphone and the podium?
This one here?
No, yes, please. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karen Fisher. I'm 61 Main Street, so I'm right next door. Kind of be looking in my backyard. I know they were trying to develop the one on the other side, which was 59 or something at one point, and there was some conversation about how high it could go, and I'm just looking at your levels, and they seem rather high, so I was wondering if there's any conversation or what is the restriction in town? We're kind of new to town, so I'm not sure if the height that you have there is going to be within the town rules.
Yes, our intent is to comply with the regulations for the district for height.
And there was an issue with the property that was developed. What is the name of it? It's where the auto body was. I can't remember. Is it called the Main Street or something? The
Yeah, and just to
condos.
be clear, that was not developed by Chimber.
I understand
That was
that.
developed by a
Totally
different
understand that.
developer.
Yep, it was nothing to do with you guys, but they did make a, I would say, error on the height, and it was calculated, I think, erroneously. So it's a good point to make sure we
Yeah.
sharpen our pencil on that, so we don't get into an issue, because that was, I believe, was a situation where someone came in for an approval, sold the approval, somebody else built it, and in the process of that, there was a mistake, I think, meant in how it was ultimately built out. And I think it mostly had to do with, like, the roof line.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For this plan that you guys see, again, conceptual,
Yeah.
it could change slightly, but the highest part of the roof line is showing below the 35-foot requirement.
This is also going to be set back more off the road also, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this site visually will feel much less dense than the
Right.
townhomes on Main site. The parcel is the townhomes on Main parcel is slightly larger, but has many more units than we're proposing
Right.
here, just for context.
Yeah, it's almost like a pocket neighborhood.
That's right.
Ma'am?
Sally Ward, 72 Park Street, formerly 6 Cass Streets. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. And some of my comments are general about what's happening in town. Others are more specific to this particular proposal. I'll start with the ones that are specific to this proposal. My concern, I have two concerns. One is there are 3 structures on that site right now. The proposal is to get rid of those, and I wonder what is the historical significance of what's already there. And that concerns me because we've seen other places in town where buildings with some historical significance have been torn down and condominiums have been put in their place, and that concerns me. The other thing that concerns me about it is that we have currently on that site, I believe you said 7 rental units, and they will be replaced with 6 condominium single-family homes. And I'm concerned about, number one, the affordability for people who are working class, middle class, having rental units. And those are being, I would say, slowly but systematically, maybe not by plan, but systematically eliminated. There's some exceptions to that, of course. And the rental units that are being put in place are not what I would call affordable. And I think the cumulative impact of this development would be 7 households that are currently renting. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to be able to afford? And a particular question I have is, what is the price range that we're thinking of for these single-family homes? And what's the impact of that on the town affordability? So affordability is the character of what's being taken down. Affordability is another concern. And I think the more general comment I have is each proposal stands on its own. But that's one proposal after another proposal after another proposal, and we have many things that are being constructed in town. And so, what is the opportunity to take a look at the big picture and say, do we want to continue to have developments like this? Someone mentioned the property that's at 5559, which is where the flower shop is. And I don't know the particulars, but my understanding is that that property has been recently sold. That's 2 doors down from this proposal. And if that property also would change in terms of its, what would take the place of that property if it were to be radically changed? And so my general comment about what's going on in town is we have a lot of development, and also I would add that some of the developments that are currently ongoing are really affecting the abutting neighborhoods in a way that is problematic, I think. I have in mind the development by Haven Road and behind the Thirsty Moose. And I think that has really affected that neighborhood. It's not my neighborhood, but I think it's really affected that neighborhood in a not positive way. So those are my concerns.
Can you answer some of our questions?
I certainly can, yes. We did, when we originally viewed the property prior to purchasing it, we did consider saving the brick carriage houses that are in the rear, and most particularly the one that is furthest in the rear. Unfortunately, based on the condition of the properties and specifically the foundations, it's not a possibility. Chimberg does mill renovations and lots of historic renovations on properties, and so that was a consideration as part of the looking at the site and considering the development of the site, and it was ruled not able to be done economically for us on those properties. Certainly, happy to hear additional context. The building that faces the street is not likely historically significant. It's a wood frame colonial, and it sort of blocks, unfortunately, the two brick carriage houses, which are very cool buildings in the back. I can talk about affordability in general. The intention is that these will be market rate for sale high-end homes. I do understand the need for affordable rentals and empathize with the comment and understand where she's coming from completely. I can give an anecdote about affordability if you'd like, which is that every housing unit that we create does have a downstream effect. And so even if we sell a house for at a luxury price point, the person who buys that hopefully is selling a house in a more middle price point, which allows someone to have a more affordable unit. And, this sort of goes down the chain. We've seen this in practice where someone, retires in one of these homes. It's something they've been dreaming of their whole life. They sell their, existing colonial in the mid-fives to a family who needs something. And I think we can all agree mid-fives in the seacoast of New Hampshire is a very affordable housing unit. It's not what it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago in Exeter, but certainly in today's market, it does create affordability. And so when they sell their colonial and buy this really nice luxury condo, it creates another housing unit availability in the market. And then maybe the person who buys that, $500,000 colonial moves out of a condo that they sell for $300,000, and the person who buys that moves out of their affordable rental and makes space for somebody else. So just because the creation of the unit in the market is high-end does not mean there are not other affordability opportunities in the downstream of that.
That's the best argument I've heard.
Thank you.
For selling $1 million house. But it's a good point. It's a good point. You're creating housing.
Yeah.
It's not directly affordable, but it is housing. And that there is certainly a need for housing. It does go up and down in the market. As a planning board, we do work towards trying to help affordable housing come into the town, and we have approved projects recently that have elements of workforce housing. A lot of it is, unfortunately, density driven. So these guys could put 50 units there. I'm sure they would, and they would probably be much more affordable directly than these single-family detached condos are going to be for the general market. So a lot of it is density, and the town has struggled with that, but is meeting it really more than most towns in the seacoast, frankly. I'm pretty aware of that, and I see it every day, and this town has done a darn good job, better than most of its immediate abutters in terms of creating affordable housing and continuing to support it. There's quite a diversity of housing in the town of Exeter when it comes right down to it. But I don't know, that's a general conversation. I don't know that it really affects you directly, but I appreciate you addressing it, and I think that was a good point.
It's also partly zoning that allows or does not allow, or that a developer will look at because of the zoning is what it is. And I think my own mind sometimes is to do with starts off with the price of the land now. Years ago, when we were doing building trades for the school, we couldn't do it any further because the land was too expensive for us to build a house that should be on that. So we stop doing that particular aspect of the program. Still have an excellent building trees program. Any other people like to speak? Oh, sure. You're next, sir.
Does anybody want one of these to look at too? We're going to get more of these, so help yourself.
I'm Sally Oxnard from Greenleaf Drive. I'm here because I'm stunned at the amount of destruction I have observed in Exeter in the last year or two. The barren landscape on Epping Road, the Nancy Merrill lot on Front Street, the space beside the Main Street School, and the total destruction of the area behind the Thirsty Moose. The pattern appears to be that a developer buys the land and applies to develop it. The neighbors protest about the destruction or the overbuilding or the trees coming down. The planning board agrees with the developer. All the trees come down and the wasteland appears. Great amounts of space is taken up by buildings and pavement. 2 or 3 inch trees will be planted and many will die. And we end up with $1 million condos, less workforce housing, and significant damage to the tree canopy, which is good for the town. I stopped by this property on Main Street today. About 50% of the lot holds impermeable buildings and driveway. There are 3 big trees in the middle of the lot, 1 big diseased beech, which needs to come down, 1 ash, which looks dead, and 1 big, gorgeous, healthy oak, which probably is bigger than the perimeter that is required in terms of the developer addressing that with the tree committee, I think. Many trees on the lot line which shade the lot and the neighbors. The building appears to have 3 or 4 families. I underestimated. Obviously, there's 7, with a garden and a swing set and greenery. So the good news is that Chinberg might be another kind of builder. His website says innovative, sustainable, energy-efficient buildings. He's been known to build cluster housing in the area to maintain open space. And what I'm hoping is he will work with us, she will work with us, with the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission and ever to come up with a proposal which leaves some of these trees. Maybe not the big healthy oak, I would love that, but the trees around the lot line, they don't need to go. Leave 25% of the lot as open space. Work with what is there, not destroying everything. I'm hoping the time has come and the pattern can change in this town. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, so I can address a couple of those items. So again, conceptual, this will likely change slightly as we get into a full design and put stormwater and things like that on the site. But as it stands today, these proposals are showing about 50% of the lot being kept as open space. There is a front setback that would have to be maintained, and so in all of the communities, we do our best to maintain the tree cover, especially along the property where we can. Unfortunately, 2 of the big trees, we have looked at all 3 of the large trees and agreed 2 of them are unfortunately diseased or dead and will need to come down. We don't have our survey back yet. Everything here is just a conceptual layout, and so once we have our survey, which identifies the existing tree cover, we're certainly going to take that into consideration and say what we can. And as we have a more defined plan, that will be depicted on the plan that comes before the planning board. Thank you.
Jen has joined us. Jen Martell has joined us as a regular member, so Sam, I'll have you to step back as an alternate. Thank you.
I guess I'll address some of that comment a little bit just for the general public more than anything. My esteemed colleague to my left, Gwen English, takes pains to ensure that I got to say every project I've been involved in, that I've been involved with her, that every project we look very hard at the landscaping. I think you might know this, and the trees specifically. That's definitely something that this board takes very seriously. We have a professional landscaper on the board as well, who just walked in the room, who helps us a lot to make sure that projects are flushed out so that everything doesn't just get planted, look great, and then die, and that it meets, that I guess they work well together, the trees work well together, and the landscaping works well together. It's much beyond what I could do. I like things that look good. I wouldn't know that this tree poisons that tree and such. So they do a really, really good job of that. And we spend a lot of time. They've educated me quite a bit. I'm still very ignorant compared to them on this matter, but we take it very seriously, and we ensure that the applicants do as well. So that, appreciate your comments, and rest assured we do our best with that. It is hard to see things change, and that definitely has been a lot of infill development recently, which I think is going to be the trend in the town. I think you're going to see that because of where the marketplace is at and the lack of open land. I think you're going to see more and more of these type of projects. As a board, we've been expecting this for a while. Our planner, who's on leave right now, had educated us a bit about this and looking forward. And the benefit is that it is leveraging existing town infrastructure, so you're not adding more roads, you're not adding more water and sewer lines, more electrical lines, and things that the taxpayers have to maintain down the line. So that's the benefit of it. There are pros and cons to everything that changes, but that I think is what we're going to see. And unless we do a little bit more radical changes, we're probably not going to see a ton more affordable housing come in under the existing regulations in the town. I think you'll see some, but it'll be mostly imposed by boards like this and be somewhere between 5 and 10% of the total units in a project, if we're lucky. And the way we get that is we give them additional units. Here, you can have 10 more units if they're all affordable, essentially. But it's economics. It's the way it is, without change.
I might add too, the mature trees are beautiful. There's no question about it, but they're starting to get old, like me. And
are your leaves falling?
No, I'm not. The leaves, the hair's gone, but the leaves are doing fine. So it's part of a life cycle thing. So many times we try to suggest a larger diameter tree to start off with. It takes, I'll say, 8 to 10 years probably for a neighborhood to get, the dust to settle and for the individual people to make their particular property a little personalized in his own way. It's not going to happen overnight, but eventually it does. Now, the gentleman in the back there would like to speak.
Just a quick one.
And so...
I really appreciate the conversation on the trees. I abut the property over 61 Main Street. So, and the devil's in the details, right? This is not a detail, this is just a concept. We're
right,
pragmatic,
concept,
we understand. We have to do what's going on. A couple of questions. One is...
Could you introduce yourself, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, Donald Fisher, 61 Main Street.
Thank you.
What is the timeline for this endeavor?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of that will be in the hands of this board, but where we're at right now is we've had the survey done on site. We don't have the base plan back yet, so that's sort of step one in terms of development. Once we get the survey back and the existing conditions, then our civil engineers will fully design the site. That generally takes a month or two of design and getting things right, and then we'll submit to be on a full planning board as soon as we can hit all those marks. And I'm sure there will be some comments and back and forth before approval. So I think the intent is that once we are improved, which will probably be a number of months, that we will start to see construction on site.
And right now, this plan complies with all zoning requirements within the town?
With the caveat that this is, a redevelopment of a site that has an existing 7 units, and so it is allowed to be redeveloped. And we could do up to 7 units. We're only proposing 6 units, but it complies with, the lot setbacks and things like that.
And I assume we'll go through, because that tree line in the back is on our property line. Some trees are half on our property, half on that property, so we obviously would have to navigate how we're going to go through that.
Sure, absolutely. And as you can see, we have, setbacks along every single property line, so it is not our intent ever to, clear right to the property line. There may be areas that, because of the driveway that goes through, or drainage or things like that, or, grading around the houses that have to be expanded, but there is a buffer there on purpose, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Has the board got any other thoughts? Because I would like to say I like some of the architectural features it's taking the box. We're seeing too many dormitories being built.
Sure.
From the 50s, by the way. Or some of these continuing things, I say it looks like a New Jersey motel. Anyway, there is variety in color and the structure somewhat, and that's something I'm sure that the board would be looking for.
Wonderful.
Would you be able to share some of the comments that the fire department had?
Yeah, we just had a very preliminary conversation with them. We talked about the separation between the buildings, and their feedback generally was that these will have to be sprinkled if we, go down to a 15-foot building separation, which we're intending to do. And then we also talked about the importance of a fire truck turnaround, and so that will be, fully designed as we go into the design, but, certainly need to be able to fit for a turnaround. Those were the primary comments.
Okay, thank you.
Lang, can
Please.
you repeat what your comment about the architecture? Are you finding this to be appealing, or are you looking?
And more appealing than some of the other buildings we've seen lately.
All right.
Yeah. I see some different roof lines, and it doesn't look quite as boxy. There's some similarities because it appears that, I won't use the word cookie cutter, but there's some reoccurring features that might be modified a little bit. Understanding every time you change things around, you're probably going to affect cost of the construction of the process. So there's, the developer's working from every angle they can to be efficient, and yet a quality product and something that'll fit in the neighborhood nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, and Winter Holben, in their endeavor for this design, did spend a lot of time going around the area and familiarizing themselves with the existing architecture and tried to incorporate some of those elements into a more modern design that you would see in new construction. So hopefully you'll see some of those features here. Also, this is just one, it's possible that we would come in with not just the same unit over and over again. There might be some different architectural features. We haven't fully fleshed that out yet, but we wanted to be able to give a representation of how they would look on the site, and we only have one at this moment that is fully designed, but did try to incorporate some different color schemes and maybe some different siding materials as we move forward on the buildings.
I know we can't get into the weeds here. I guess my personal feeling is I don't have an issue with multiple buildings. I think that's fine. This feels really modern for that site. To me, it doesn't feel like it fits. And I don't know that it would take but some maybe modifications to windows or certain features that would make it, and that's subjective, of course, but I just feel like it, I feel like it doesn't look like a New England home.
Sure.
And this is early on.
Jen, do you have anything? Quiet.
I just have a question. I apologize for walking in late to the presentation. So you probably already mentioned this, but looking at the site plan, I'm having a hard time figuring out where Main Street is on this plan.
Oh, yes.
Can you point that out?
That is a great question. Where the proposed drive comes in is Main Street.
So on the south side of the page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's right next to Orient. It's right next to the Townhomes on Main project that was previously developed by Frank Catapano,
Right.
across from the Shell station.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only comment just would be on, at this point, before really looking at solid plans, would be to really address how Main Street, how the frontage is addressed architecturally. So we don't want to be driving down Main Street and see the side of a house. It'd be better to have a house facing Main Street, and then also street trees, especially if big trees are being cut down, I'd want to see a lot of, closely spaced street trees to replace it. Along Main Street, I mean, throughout the site, but definitely along Main Street.
in terms of the architecture, so for some, this is supposed to be feedback, right? So for me personally, I think a little more attention to the town you're in, which is Exeter, and the historic nature of it would be appreciated on the architectural. I don't see that. I see not the same 6 homes, exactly the same, which I would expect from Chinburg anyway to be better than that. And I know he knows this area, so I would just think that would be really appreciated, especially on the front unit, particularly the one you will see that most people will see. But the abutters have to see them all. So, and I do think there might be costs associated with that. I think you get it back. I think people will pay for that. You know that. So people generally will come to Exeter because it's Exeter. And if it has a feel of Exeter, I think the customers will appreciate that also.
Absolutely.
And it's close to the train station.
That's right.
Anything else?
Would we, I should know the answer to this question. When would we be doing a site walk?
Well, probably after the initial plan submission, we would set our site walk at that time, which will probably be next spring sometime. How deep would you like the snow?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that we typically do on these kinds of projects is do a site walk, which is a public meeting. Seeing is worth 1,000 words kind of thing. So that's always something that folks that are here this evening need to know about, because you're more than welcome to come to that too and make the same comments if you'd like. Or so now that you're seeing you're getting closer to a plan, you can do that. Yep.
I say one other comment.
Sure.
So I think you folks know this, but I do also would encourage you to meet with your butters ahead of time. A few of them are here, and it's always helpful if they have concerns. If you work that outside of these meetings, I think it's pretty productive and can eliminate contentious meetings and unnecessary public drama. I don't think you got that in this case. I think they've been pretty nice so far. So you're going to walk out of here intact, it seems.
I've had way worse, that's for sure. No, we do typically do a meeting with the abutters, at our office or on site prior to full planning board submission, and so we will intend to do that for this as well.
Great.
Okay.
And one other thing on that, and just because of past experience, sorry, I'm like Columbo now.
Okay.
I would just say for the abutters on that, I'm not discouraging you from coming. We want you here in these meetings. It really helps us as a board to meet the public needs when we hear from you. While we, I think we do the best we can to incorporate the abutters. It usually is the abutters, but also neighbors or just community members' input into our decisions. So you should be here, even if you feel like your concerns have been addressed offline. It's always nice to hear once in a while that you had a positive experience with an applicant, which does happen, but generally doesn't get to that podium. It's nice when it does, so.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your time and
Thank you.
feedback. We really appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in. And thank you for the public tuning in on this conversation.
So, Mr. Chair, could I just to the people that addressed general, I just want, one, if you guys want to go to the select board and talk at public comment, there's time at the beginning of a meeting. We have a meeting Monday night. And the other things to remember is that right now in the CIP and our capital improvement plan, updating our master plan is slated for 2027. And that's when these conversations are really important. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming in. Take care.
Okay. Next on our agenda is a continued public hearing on the application of J. Cali Associates for the site plan review and shoreland conditional use permit for the proposed redevelopment of the property at 97 Portsmouth Avenue. Developer is proposing to demolish an existing Blue Ribbon dry cleaner building on the site and construct a multi-use building to include commercial space, amenities, and 14 residential units with parking and associated site improvements. Property is located at C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District and is identified in the tax map parcel number 65-125 and is planning board case number 25-3. And I'd ask Carol if she has some notes to start this off this evening.
I don't really have a lot to add at this point. We have new submittals since the last meeting of October 23rd. And at that meeting, there were several items that were agreed upon between the board and the applicant that would be either revised or added to the plans. And I've looked at the new plans and seen that those things have been addressed, and I believe that Mr. Smith will go through those in more detail. Otherwise, yeah, everything you've had, everything submitted that is new, and I think we are ready to see that presentation at this point.
Thank you. It's good to see Christian back. We missed you last time.
Good to be seen. Thank you.
Okay. So the floor is yours.
All right, good evening. Thank you. My name is Josh Lanzetta, again, an attorney at Bruton and Ruby. To my left is Christian Smith. We're here presenting the site plan application before you. Or Jeff
Could you
Cowles
speak a little louder
Yep,
or
sorry.
closer to the microphone?
So, and I apologize, I still have a residual cough, which is why I was standing outside, so my voice is a little bit, it's still slightly muted. We did submit, after the comments from the last meeting, a revised plan set reflecting all of the changes requested. And I think I'm just going to turn this over to Christian to go through those changes. We are asking this evening that you approve this application. We've been here a number of times now, and I think we have kind of tried to capture the board's input on this last plan set, knowing that we had some different members that weren't here, and we've tried to accommodate all the commentary to date. So, Christian, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, for the record, my name is Christian Smith, engineer with Beals Associates, representing the applicant on this project. And I think what I'll do is just go through the changes that we've implemented in the plans based on the notes that were taken by Josh and Jeff at the prior hearing, and then address any additional questions that you folks might have. And obviously, then I presume we'll open it up to the abutters. But so we did provide where, you know, we understand the offloading vehicles will be stopping. That would be shown on sheet 4 in the plan set. And whoops, what did I do there? I thought that was the oh wow,
That's new.
I thought that was a laser pointer. Well, in any event. So essentially, the plan is going to be, and I want to remind the board that this little cafe is not going to receive, you know, materials and food and beverages the way that a large restaurant would. This will be coordinated between, I'm assuming Jeff, I believe Jeff intends to retain this property and manage it as it moves forward. But, you know, in the event that the bank is closed, essentially, the largest vehicle we would foresee delivering to this property would be a relatively small box truck, 16, 17 feet in length, which has no problem traveling through the properties as required. But essentially, the parking would be right in here for them. They would unload. If a space is open, they would likely pull into one of the stalls and then wheel their goods down the sidewalk. There is a side door almost at the middle of the building, in the middle of Bank Prov building, that they would then bring the food in, unload it, take their dolly back to the truck and head out. If you know, the bank is closed, they will probably go in just to the right of the of the drive-through lane. If not, I presume they would go in through the back aisle. Either way, that is the plan for that. Oftentimes, in speaking with Jeff, there will be smaller deliveries that might come in just on a conventional pickup truck, and they could either park in the front or the back and access that entry in the same fashion. We did add the walkway back, and I apologize, I'm not sure why this is not in laser pointer mode, but we added the walkway back connecting the two pervious pavement patios, or pervious paver patios. And just on that, I did take a look at that area, and I just didn't remember because we didn't have it actually labeled. But that is a 5.5% slope for about 35 feet between the middle 3 or 4 stalls there. And it shallows up from there 5.5% for about 35 feet. That is ADA compliant. The requirement for an ADA ramp, access ramp, is 1 in 12, which equates to 8.33 or 8 1/3%. So we are well below that. And we did actually relocate the former handicap stall here and put that in the front. It was my understanding that was a request by the board as well. By doing so, we actually gained a parking stall in the back because we maintained the number that were originally there in the front. And to that end, we did reorganize the crosswalk from the Bank Prov sidewalk to the sidewalk on the Locust property, and the offloading, that is a van accessible stall, by the way, which is required by ADA when you have less than 25 parking spaces. You need 1 stall, but it has got to be van accessible. That is, and it is provided the connection, and one of the detection blocks is connected to that sidewalk, and then the ramp for getting up the half a foot from this point to that point, or I think it's 4 inches actually, is right at the end of this sidewalk, as would be customary. So somebody offloading a wheelchair at this point would simply get onto that, get up the ramp, and then they're on the patio in that direction. And if they were headed down to the little gazebo or pavilion cafe, they would just simply go down the sidewalk in the other direction. That is depicted on all the revised sheets, and we understood that there was a request to have 2 conduits put in for potential future EV charging stations. Those are depicted on sheet 6, which is your utility plan, and I think I can see them right here, is the conduits will come out and split, so there would be an opportunity to have 2 charging stations at the northwest, or I guess the northeast, no, it would be the northwest spots behind the building, or these 2 right here.
Those 2, yeah.
would be available in the event that they end up wanting to add electric vehicle charging stations at those locations. I mentioned the sidewalk crossing from Bank Prov, mentioned the ADA parking. We did just receive this morning, I think our landscape architect was on vacation last week, so it was kind of an 11th hour production and printing, but we did get the revised landscape plan from our landscape architect, which I believe you all have copies of, and I can go to that plan if anybody wants to see it up on the board or up on the screen. And then finally, specific to the zoning tables, what we did is we left the underlying zoning table that we had and simply placed an MUND table beside that with the criteria that are listed in the zoning ordinance for the MUND in the C2 district. So you'll see that there's kind of 2 tables, but they are right side by side on sheet 4.
Do you want to go to the landscaping?
I can do that.
Let's go to the landscaping. sheet 8.
Yep, and would you guys like me to try and zoom in on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
Definitely, yeah, so we did, yeah.
I will be honest, I still can't read it, but I think that gives you the gist.
You want a hard copy? You have one?
I actually have one.
Can't read that either.
Trying to get the entire property in there. There we go. And as I say, I haven't had a great deal of time to review this plan because we did get it this morning. Or perhaps it was late last night, but I forwarded it to the planning office this morning.
In our MUND requirements, the landscaping areas should be all season. And while, if I interpret that at face value, a lot of what's here is seasonal, like your sedum, your switchgrasses, daylilies.
Well, sedum is just a ground cover like grasses.
But it's not
so.
all season. And I
Oh, no,
think they're
understood,
talking
and I think that's
junipers
just kind of in addition to what she's proposing for trees and shrubs.
Right, which you,
You know, just to kind of dress up the bed, so to speak. I mean, at some point in time, we assume that's going to be covered in snow,
right,
just like a lawn would be.
well,
Well, wouldn't you anticipate some annuals being planted every spring, or, you know?
I'm just saying at face value,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah,
the MUND requires or states in its
Plant the bulbs
definition
in
of
the fall and
landscaping.
then-
So I bring that up as something to discuss if anybody else feels that it's.
Yeah, what does it say specifically on that?
Landscaping areas should be
Sometimes
all
the wording gets
season.
funny.
Yep, no, I'll happily read it if I can find it.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, Gwen.
No, it's not a problem. If you want to go to something else
Talk
while
amongst
I'm
yourselves.
looking.
If they want.
Yeah.
We'll happily.
Find it okay?
Yeah. Ridge.
This is always our famous and most favorite part of the program when we get a plan at the meeting.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, it makes it hard. But at least we have it.
What's the treatment on the, what's the directions here? The side of the building facing the apartments, it's a kind of a quasi-steep embankment. What is it that I would see there for?
So she's got shamrock, inkberry holly, which I know what a holly bush looks like. I can't tell you I know exactly what an inkberry holly looks like, but as I understand it, holly.
It's an evergreen.
That's what I was going to say. As I
Yeah.
understand it, hollies are evergreen.
Yeah.
And then I am not certain about the blue muffin vernum on that side. And then in the back, Mr. Chairman, adjacent to the lawn, it is just more of the Shenandoah switchgrass.
Mm-hmm.
But that side that's got kind of the row of shrubs, I believe those are all evergreens.
Yep, okay.
And of course, if there's, you know, anything that our landscape architect has done that you feel does not meet with the letter of the code, let us know, and we can absolutely get her to revise the species.
There are things about the MUND that are a little challenging, but this is in landscaping section, it's section 4A. It says all season, and then colon, landscape areas should be designed to remain functional and attractive during all seasons through a thoughtful selection of deciduous, evergreen, berrying, and flowering plant varieties. So,
Well, based on that commentary, I think she's accomplished
I think
that.
I skipped. I think in my reading through this.
Yes, Gwen, we can't have you
focused.
selectively reading from
No,
the code.
and I'm happy to be called out on something I have misstated. So have at it. But
We are happy to work with staff as a condition here to change species if that's something we need to do.
Okay.
That's super easy to accomplish.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I actually, I do feel like there's a nice mix of evergreen and deciduous and berries and sort of different heights of plants on this plan. I'm not sure about I think the 2 trees in the lawn area, I believe that those were requested during a meeting that I was not at. And I think they're fine if they were like 2 big, like canopy trees, which is kind of what they look like they're represented, but then they're labeled as Rosea Carolina Silverbell, which I'm actually not familiar with it, but to me that sounds like a shrub. So I think that those need to be a tree species. I might look that one
I
up.
think the plan, actually, Jen, came with 2, there was some discrepancy. They came with either 2, and then on the kind of the pictures that they provided with us, there were 3, and I requested that whatever they had decided to put in would be reflected in the plan set and to have it match the photographs, the mock-ups. They had pictures of like mock-ups of the building.
Oh, okay.
Plantings that didn't match the plan.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that was the
where
request.
That was where that discussion was.
And I just looked up Rosea Carolina Silverbell,
That's
which
funny,
I
so did
know
Josh.
as Halesia, which actually is kind of more of like a tall
Flowering tree.
flowering shrub,
Yeah.
which I would probably call a tree. So yeah, it's actually a really pretty cool plant.
Yep, and I think when what you're referencing was a discrepancy between the architect's renderings.
The rendering.
And the actual landscape plan, and I believe those now match. However, we were not able to get any new architectural renderings for this hearing because our architect's rendering software puked.
Okay.
SOB or STB. But anyway, they do not have that software functional yet, so they can certainly do that when they're preparing the final building plans to request a building permit.
Could you point out where the bike stand is?
Yes, bike stand is directly next to the covered espresso bar. Bike rack. There we go, lying right there. As the now 8-foot sidewalk comes in, there is a bike rack right there with, I believe there's enough space for 6 bicycles in that rack.
Okay.
Right next to the sidewalk.
Bicycle rack, I see.
Oh, and that's another point that I should have made. Mr. Cayley did have us reduce the size of that pavilion, that open-air pavilion cafe, from 30 feet in length down to 24, which just facilitated matching the prior number of spaces in the front with the same number now that it's got the handicap parking stall up there.
So just on that note, so the covered espresso bar kind of sticks out beyond, like if you're coming up the 8-foot path, it looks like you're just going to walk into the back of the building and there's only like a 3-foot like path to go around the building. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. Yeah, that is correct. Because essentially the idea is, or the assumption is, most people that are coming up there are going to actually use that facility. And 3 feet is enough to allow a person to walk into the patio area should they, I guess, have somebody waiting there for them, or they want to use that walkway to gain access to the primary building.
Is that wheelchair accessible? Wheelchair accessible?
It is, one wheelchair. But it is at grade, and you could not pass 2. Which I think ADA says 5 feet will allow 2 wheelchairs to pass.
Boy, I always thought 5 feet was the minimum.
Yeah, I think my
I mean,
understanding
we can
is.
certainly widen that out, because
Four is the
bear in mind that the 25-foot setback for that espresso bar is a minimum, a maximum front setback in the MUND zone. So we can certainly slide that building 2 feet forward and create a 5-foot, a full 5-foot access to the patio if that pleases the board.
I think I would prefer that personally.
And bear in mind, this is not a covered building, so they're going to be able to walk underneath the roof and go there too, or take their wheelchair underneath the roof and go there too.
Well, so
This
that
is
was
gonna
my
be on
question.
stilts.
Like, can you said it's not a covered building, or?
I'm sorry, it's not a sided building.
It's not a sided
Yes,
building.
yeah,
So that was
I
my
spoke-
question,
I
like,
spoke
could you
incorrectly.
walk? Can you walk, like, is that just showing the outline of the roof and I can walk underneath it?
Correct.
Okay.
That's different.
That's different, okay.
Yeah, so you do have 3 feet on the outside if you don't want to go underneath the roof.
Okay.
But you can certainly go underneath that roof around that support beam
Yeah.
or column and get right out to the patio, yes.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, I still sort of like the idea of shifting it over a little bit so that you're not.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to do
You
that.
can kind of more have the option.
Yep.
It'll make it more comfortable.
Do you have I see that there's like a little area identified for the bicycle facilities for 6 bikes, but is there like a detail or anything that shows how that?
No, because those are bought off the shelf. I mean, they're literally just, I believe, because it's going to be outdoors, they use galvanized steel, and they're literally just round rectangles with, dividers in between them, which are also made out of the galvanized steel. I can certainly pull one, down from a manufacturer and get it on the plan if you'd like to see that. But it's fairly standard fare. They have, it's the bottom is a rectangle, the elongated rectangle, and so that rectangle then goes up to another rectangle, which would be each of the end sides, and then you've got 5 dividers, which I believe is all welded construction as far as what I was seeing on the manufacturer's page. But I'm happy to add a detail to the plans, Jen, if that.
Yeah,
what
so
you'd
it
like
would
to
be
see.
good to lay them out, and then you also need to consider the fact that a bicycle rack has a use zone. So the rack itself might only be 2.5 feet, but you need room
You've got the back tire
to
sticking out.
attach
Yeah,
a bike
because
to
it's
it.
only one tire that goes into that, and
Yeah.
I suppose they might not lock them if they're sitting in the cafe where they're looking at them.
But you need a space that's not on the sidewalk to place a bike, and it looks
It's tight.
tight. Yeah, I'm trying to picture how a bike would even fit.
Just slide it back.
Because a bike is like 6-7 feet long. It's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, again, that can probably just move with the building.
Yeah.
And maybe even move a little bit further down. Again, we're not going to be blocking doors on that structure with a bike rack. So again, if I slide it 4 feet to the left, plan view left, that will certainly accommodate that where the tires will not be sitting on that walkway.
And what material are you putting under the bike rack? Is that concrete or?
Under the bike rack, no, it is just going to be probably stoned, like
gravel?
a wash stone, yeah. Something decorative. River stone, something like that. Nothing jagged, because you would, some of the more expensive road bikes, those tires can't handle sharp rocks.
Yeah, the bike rack's definitely not big enough
You're not going
on your plan. It shows on the landscape plan, it's like the width of a shrub. So it probably needs to be tripled in size, I would guess. So you're probably going to lose a little bit of your landscaping there.
Or just tighten it up? I wouldn't
Yeah.
lose any landscaping.
Right.
I would just
Yeah,
put the plants closer
and
together.
it does seem, Jen, that in that location, there's some pretty decent spacing between those proposed plantings.
Yeah.
So that's what we would do, is just basically push it back to accommodate the rear tire being off the walkway.
Walkway, yeah.
Yep.
So e-bikes are kind of a new thing for me. I don't know their sizes. Would they fit
Yeah, I mean,
the bike is
essentially,
pretty standard
they have a
either
little
way.
fatter
tires.
structure because they've got
Yeah.
the little motor in there,
Yeah.
little fatter tires. But the size of the bikes themselves are pretty much going to fall right in.
I wasn't here at the
with-
last meeting,
with
but
pedal
Mr. Cayley
pedal
had said
bikes.
he wanted to be able to have for regular bikes and e-bikes. So that's
Yeah.
why I was asking
Yeah.
if it's
And
going to
I'm-
accommodate both.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think most of the manufacturers' products that I looked at will accommodate all of them in this day and age if you're buying a new bike rack.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The e-bikes actually are a little bit, they're fatter, but they actually are usually shorter.
Shorter.
Because they have a drop, you know, in the 80s when they had the girl bikes with the drop down tube, right? You don't have those anymore. But that's what the e-bikes look like to accommodate the battery pack. I only know that because my dad, who's 80, has a couple of e-bikes. They're a little smaller.
My bike. Thank you.
I have a question about the ADA parking space. So the access to the pervious patio from the ADA parking spaces that you walk down to that curb ramp on the corner, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So it almost seems like you're kind of pushing the person to walk into like the road. It's like, I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering like why, like could there be a curb cut at the stripe zone or a second curb cut? If I understand having one there for the van access, but could there be a second curb cut up on the like, yep, exactly.
There.
Yeah.
I think the issue with that is there is a curb there which protects pedestrians in the walkway from the parked vehicles. But what we did do, Jen, is the allowance is this is at grade, and you know they're protected by this sidewalk up until where it curves, and that is a handicap, you know, slope down or tip down. And they are able to, whether they be in a wheelchair, in crutches, whatever, can get right to that without ever getting into the road. And then again, this is the handicap ramp, which leads up to the patio. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's a 4-inch difference or a 4/10 difference between where this sidewalk comes over, enters the Locust property sidewalk, and then the ramp goes up to the pervious paver patio.
So you can't add a second one at the,
It's a different elevation, so it would be very quirky to put another handicap ramp there, you know, into that pervious paver patio.
so is that more than a 6-inch curb?
No, but my point being is this location at that, no, I mean, it could be done, but at this location, you would be putting in a ramp which would basically interrupt, you know, the free flow of traffic there. People would have to walk down across the ramp, back up the other side of the ramp, as opposed to having just a nice clean slope down the walkway towards the cafe. I mean, we can certainly do it. I just think it's going to be clunky for pedestrians.
It's kind of like at corner intersections.
Exactly.
Walking down,
Yep.
yeah. And you got to go back up again if you want to go, yeah. Because you got two kinds of traffic, just foot traffic going around the corner and then the traffic wants to come out.
Precisely.
So,
Yeah.
So can I just follow up on that? It's going to be clunky for walking pedestrians, but more user-friendly for ADA?
It would just provide a second access. I wouldn't say that it's more user-friendly, it just provides them a different location that they could access the patio.
I think it's more user-friendly because you're not taking your wheelchair out to the,
out in the roadway kind of.
yeah, like if you can picture, okay, so like your elderly grandma's in the passenger side of the car, you grab her wheelchair, go get around, like the most direct route would be to go up directly onto the Purvis patio rather than walk down, be like practically in the street. and then get up and then have to go up a ramp and then go around. It just seems circuitous. I think that, the typical, like flared side curb ramp.
Yeah, which
that you
are
see on
almost, the slopes
sidewalks.
are almost triangles.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
basically-
it seems like you have plenty of room to put that there.
There is, and that's what I'm saying. If you guys prefer that or would like to see that added in, that's not a deal breaker for me.
It's that the first option as presented, there's less rise. So you're dealing with a larger slope at the newly proposed curb cut.
Yeah.
And this is protected by
Well,
the
it can't be
side.
more than 6 inches rise because it's a 6-inch curb. So, and that's a typical
Yeah, no,
handicap
you're
ramp.
absolutely
so,
correct.
Unless it's at grade
Yep.
when you get out of the car.
Yeah.
And, it's not even 4-ish lower. So it's mincing a couple of inches, I get it, but it is protected by that sidewalk low there. And creates a better pedestrian way, which is what you guys asked for from the patio to the other patio, right?
Yeah, and really,
It's
that's
kind of
why,
trying to balance those two things.
right, and why we didn't contemplate that out of the gate was because, I just assumed that the connection of the two patios wanted to be just a nice, clean sidewalk that
Yeah.
follows along the curb. But entirely up to you guys. I mean, if you have a strong opinion about it, I do not.
I just remember when they installed all the bump outs on Main Street.
Yeah.
Then the curb ramps were at the street side rather than at the curb side, like at the sidewalk side. And there were a lot of complaints from the community of people who use mobility assistance devices that, you're making me walk out into the street to get onto the sidewalk, and that's not really safe.
Yeah,
So
I think given the.
I wanna be sensitive to that.
The mobility challenged person, an option there would be the best solution, even though it might be inconvenient for the able people. I think it would be a pretty nice accommodation.
Are you calling me out? Mobility challenged? For several more
You
months.
probably
anyway.
appreciate it right now.
For probably several more months anyway.
We'll see how you do.
That's exactly. Oh, trust me.
Which option would you take?
Slopes do not work well with the knee just yet. Anyway, like I say, if
You'd like to get out on that patio, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But if that's something you guys want to see, I do not have an issue making that happen.
Can you come out, raise the pavement, of the striped, diagonally striped pavement? Can that be raised as you're approaching the curb? Say to take half of that so you don't have to make it as deep?
That's going to be tough because that's conventional paving there. And it would be very bizarre to have an 8-foot strip that sloped differently than the rest of the parking lot.
Okay.
But I mean, it's going to be an ADA compliant ramp anyway.
Yeah.
If it's the consensus of the board that they want a secondary access into that pervious patio from the offload area of the ADA stall, as I say, I do not have a problem, and I can make that happen.
Yeah.
Jen, what if they turned it 90 degrees and it went towards the coffee shop in the building?
Yeah.
Then you would maintain your width, I'll say horizontally, I'm looking at it, and they'd come up in the wider part of the walk. Or is that not a good place to be?
I think.
Well, I think where it comes in, Lang, it's actually going to be better if we're putting one at the
That's true.
end, at that north end.
Because you come
you're
right
going to
up there.
want it where you get up at the top of the ramp if you're headed onto the patio.
Okay.
And you've got that wide area of pervious pavers, nice and smooth. And if you want to take a left to head down the sidewalk, they simply go up that side of the ramp.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, did we talk about having a handicap spot in the back as well? Seems like
Well, I was looking at the minutes here.
There was a handicap spot in the
there
back.
was.
There
one.
was.
I was wondering if we had said.
I'm seeing
could
ADA
be
parking in
eliminated,
front
we
and
would
keeping
want
the
it.
one in back. That's line 244 in these minutes.
Can you repeat that?
ADA parking in front and keeping one in back.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
I was thinking that's what we discussed.
Well, that's easy enough to do as well. because we, like I said, we gained a stall. We would just be back to compliant as opposed to exceeding the parking calculations.
It makes sense for, I would assume that's where people who resided in the building would be parking, and it would make more sense for them to have, if they need a handicap spot, to have it in the back.
Yeah, I think that's good. And then you have one for residents and one for
Coffee shop.
patrons.
In your lighting plan, you have one pole lamp in the back, is that right?
One.
How many pole lamps do you have? Is it,
Why am I I need, sorry. Using the wrong implement.
Sheet number 7. There we go.
In the back of the building, Gwen, there are 3 pole-mounted lights.
again, in the MUND, and I hope I'm not misreading this, but in the MUND, they talk about lamps that have, they're more decorative. They have specifications for the lamps. And this particular lamp style that you have in your utilities, or in your, utility plan, are pretty, it's just a,
Well, the one at the building is going to be the wall mount type.
right.
Which-
I'm talking about the one in the upper left, is that not the pole?
That is one of the pole mounts, yes.
Yeah. There's, if you look at the lighting specifications, lighting for parking areas and public gathering spaces shall be decorated in shape, scale, and finish with detailed articulated treatments for the base, post, fixture, and crown. And it has a little diagram showing that. With specifications for height. It's not to exceed 20 feet. I don't know how high that is.
I don't think any of the poles exceed 20 feet. Here's his list, there it is. 12 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet.
One says 15.
Wall mounted at 20 inches and the wall mounted at 8 feet. Yeah, none of them exceed the 12 feet.
It's more decorative. It's like from the 70s or 80s.
And I can certainly have the lighting engineer take a peek at that. Because I'm quite certain they have similar fixtures that could be used, to the type of luminary you see on the wall mount detail, that could be added to the pole lights.
I would have them look at this.
Right.
Yeah, I'll have them take a peek at it.
Yeah.
That's section 630 in the MUND?
Yeah, and there's a number under it, 6, I can't see what the.
61953 is the figure.
61953? Mm-hmm. We'll leave that because that's probably going to be useful as well.
I wanted to make a correction, just to something you said earlier about accessibility, just because I'm in it all day. So 5% is your maximum accessible slope, like without a handrail. You can go up to 8.3%, but if you're between 5 and 8.3, you need to have a handrail. I don't think in this case an accessible slope is required. It's just, I just wanted to make the correction that technically that pervious 5-foot walk between the 2 pervious patios would not be considered an accessible slip by the Americans with Disabilities Act.
It would not be considered an accessible sidewalk. It would be considered an accessible ramp.
It's not a ramp because it doesn't have handrails.
Well, neither do the little ramps that go up from the sidewalks into the patio either.
Right, so you're allowed to go 6 feet, you're allowed to do that 6-inch rise as a ramp, but you can't do like a walkway that's 5.5% without a handrail and call it accessible. It's just not considered, it's just not accessible.
I guarantee you, so I understand what you're saying. I guarantee you someone in a wheelchair is not going to know the difference between 5% and 5.5%. They're going to use that.
Sure, but I guarantee you, if an accessibility advocate comes out to your project site,
I'm sure
they will raise a stink about it, because I've had that happen
and I mean,
to me.
that 0.5%, I can regrade that too. That's
what so that's sort of the request that I made 2 weeks ago was, can you regrade this path, like, can you add this path and make sure that it's accessible? So I just wanted to make that correction, because you added the path, which is great. We just can't call it an accessible path. It's
and in
not.
my defense, I was not here.
I understand, there's a recording,
But,
I'm sure you watched.
That's not a problem. That can be, I can lose 0.5%, and the grading is going to change very little.
Okay.
Good point.
So you should do that then.
Oh, we're going to.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that's stuff that we're trying to focus on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
trying to slide
Again,
that
I'm
through.
trying to catch up.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So we all set on lights now?
I'm good on lights.
Okay.
I had a question on light.
Yes, Dean.
It appears that the lighting profile is different on the 3 pole lights in the rear as the pole light in the front.
Yes, different luminaires.
Pardon me?
Different luminaires.
Okay. The
You can
light
see-
looks the same, but it's a different bulb, is that what?
Yes. Well, it's a different, if it's a different top fixture. You can see he's got 3 luminaires here, which are the elevated lights. Those are all slightly different, and they all cast slightly different foot candles of illumination.
I was just surprised at the shape of the illumination lines. That's what was.
Yeah, he selected those when we went back, I think it was in August, we made that change with them to try and eliminate overspill.
Yeah.
And he changed those fixtures, the luminaires themselves, specifically for that.
I have a question back on the sidewalk. The front sidewalk, it's the 8-inch sidewalk that curves around to the kiosk.
8 foot.
8 foot, thank you. It looks 8 inches. What is the difference in the elevation between the sidewalk and the parking?
It would be the standard 4-inch reveal of curbing.
Okay. I think that would also be one reason why you would want to move the espresso bar closer to the road, to make a little more space in there for that narrow walkway, because you do have that 4-inch curb there, right?
Into the parking area, yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, but I have, I guess I'd like to share my thoughts on this. I would very much like to see this site get redeveloped. And I've spent a lot of time going through this and trying to convince myself that it's going to operate well. And I have not been able to get to that point. In my opinion, this plan doesn't meet the intent of the MUND, and it doesn't meet the requirements of the MUND. I've gone through the ordinance. You know, you read the ordinance when it talks about the MUN, and it says that the town provides the design standards to ensure the districts where the MUN can occur will develop in a manner that creates active, safe, and walkable neighborhoods. And everything I understand of the MUN is, you know, the intent is if you're building, if it's new construction, the building should front the street. You should have commercial on the first floor, residential up above or behind, and you'd have your 8-foot wide sidewalk along the street so pedestrians can walk along the street and enter the commercial establishment. And you would have parking in the back. And the reason why you would do that is because you separate the pedestrian activity from the vehicular traffic. And in this case, when I look at this, I see, and by the way, I believe the applicant has already said, we physically can't do that. We can't bring the building forward because of the driveway at the bank and its constraints and so forth. And that may be right. I don't know. I haven't spent any time trying to see, and I don't think it's the planning board's responsibility to figure out if you could design that to work or not. But what is our responsibility is, do they meet the requirements? And that's where I'm having trouble. Specifically, I'm concerned with the 7 parking spaces out front and the activity of pedestrians and vehicle traffic in that whole area, that driveway. And, you know, I look at this and I see, when I look at again, back on the ordinance, the design requirements, it says that parking areas, this is specifically related to the MUND, parking areas shall be located behind or to the side of the frontage buildings on the property. It doesn't say should, doesn't say may, it says shall. Shall's a requirement, as far as I understand that. And I look at that parking, 7 spaces in front in the parking, and I talked previously at one of the meetings about how we calculated the parking demand, and the parking demand was based on the restaurant use in one space per seat. As I said in the previous meeting, that's not appropriate for a coffee shop use. And I believe the response, the applicant's attorney had said, I understand, but we have to use the ordinance. And the ordinance, if you go to, and I went to the table 5.66, which is the table for the parking requirements in our ordinance. And they're correct. It does not have a coffee shop. But the ordinance does say, right next to the table, if the proposed use is not represented in table 5.66, the applicant may utilize the most recent data available from the Institute of Transportation Engineers Parking Generation Guide. So I went to the ITE Parking Generation Guide, which does have the coffee shop listed, and it has the parking demand based on it. The parking demand based on ITE Parking Generation is 19 spaces during the AM peak hour. They have 7 spaces. So the difference between 19 and 7 is 12. So the demand during the AM peak hour is going to be 12 additional spaces. So where are those 12 going to park? Those 12 are going to park in front of the bank. There's like 4 spaces in front of the bank, and there's another 15 spaces in that lot out close. So during the morning peak hour, the vast majority of those spaces in front of the bank are going to be used by people going to the coffee shop. And what's going to happen, again, keep in mind, there's a difference between, let's say those 7 spaces were, an office building, where somebody came in and parked in the morning, and they went into work, and then at 5 o'clock they came back out and left. I wouldn't care about that. It's the intensity of the use here. What's happening is, because it's a coffee shop, these people are going to be coming on their way to work. They're going to stop by, get their coffee and bagel or whatever they want to get, and they're going to park over here in that lot in front of the bank, and then they're going to be running back and forth to the building, walking across the driveway. And they're going to be walking right behind where the cars are pulling out, where the 7 parking spaces. And obviously, that's not a good situation. Now, and by the way, any of the cars that are coming in here, because there's not enough parking spaces, they can be driving around looking for parking spaces. But once I kind of got to that point, I said, okay, so the real question is, how quickly are people going to be pulling into these spaces and leaving? Well, the way you get that is you look at, aside from the parking demand, you look at the vehicle trips that will be generated by the new site. And so I looked to see how many vehicle trips are going to be generated by the site. And the applicant has submitted a 3-page memo from their traffic engineer that it didn't address the things that I'm talking about, the internal circulation and so forth, but it did address the trip generation. And if you go to Table 1, in their table, they estimate the number of vehicle trips that would be generated by the coffee shop, and they call it commercial here. And what they've estimated for the AM peak hour is a total of 4 vehicle trips, 2 entering and 2 exiting. That's two customers coming in the morning to go get coffee. Now, clearly that's an underestimate. And the reason why I know that's an estimate is because in the footnote of the table, it says that they went to ITE Trip Generation Manual, Land Use Code 822, which is for strip retail plaza, which on a square foot basis, that is a load generated during the AM peak hour. It's not an appropriate estimate of the trip generation. What they should have used was ITE Trip Generation Manual Land Use Code 936, which is in there, and it's for a coffee shop. And if you use the square footage they're proposing, the coffee shop would generate, as opposed to 4 trips, 2 entering and 2 exiting, would generate 104 trips, 52 entering and 52 leaving during the weekday AM peak hour. So that's the kind of volume that's going to be coming in, coming out within the hour, trying to find parking space, while we have people walking back and forth. So I'm at the point where, again, everything that I just described is the complete opposite of what the MUN is trying to accomplish, separating pedestrians and from automobiles. And this is doing the complete opposite. And the problem is, if you build this, and if everything I just described happens, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, that building's going to be there for 100 years or whatever. So, I've gone through this and gone through it, and I've concluded, again, it doesn't even come close to meeting the intent. It doesn't meet the requirements. That you cannot put parking in front of the building, and it's not only that, but it's creating a potentially unsafe condition for pedestrians. So I can't support the project. I just want to make it clear. That's where I am.
All right, so, Marty, appreciate your, everything you just said. It's definitely a very challenging project, and I don't think that's some of your specifics. Excuse me, ladies, I don't mean to poke my back at you. Are some of the specifics you brought up are new testimony at this hearing, but everything else I think has been expressed previously, which is important to me, that we've brought this up. A lot of what you just expressed is typically when we're bringing this all back to the board and we're communicating with ourselves.
Okay.
So you might be a little early with that.
Well, actually, I wanted to give the applicant an opportunity.
Okay, and that if that's your intent, then that makes sense, because we still are probably going to take more public testimony as well.
Okay.
So you'll be able to reiterate all of that again, or see if they can address it. But I don't know how they can address that necessarily, other than saying you're wrong. But my challenge would be, based on the parking requirements you just brought up, what would comply
with
only 7 spots?
7
commercial use.
what I talked about was demand versus requirements. If you go to our ordinance, the table only has restaurant. It does not have coffee shop. They used restaurant, which was in the table.
Yeah.
Now, what the ordinance does say is that the applicant doesn't say they have to, they say they may, if they want to, they could go to ITE parking generation, which is not a requirement, it's an estimate of the demand of the parking. So you go to that source and you find that during the morning peak hour, the demand for a coffee shop of this size would be 19 spaces. It doesn't necessarily saying you have to have parking 17 spaces, but it's an indicator that 7's not going to be enough.
Sure. Okay. Do you want to kick it to the public at this stage?
Let's open it.
Yeah, can we just respond to that prior?
Why don't you hear from the public that they're going to reiterate the same concern, and then you can do it once versus having to go and do the public as well.
I'm just concerned that there are gross inaccuracies that just went on the record.
You can have a chance to address it. I think you should. It's up to you. You're the chair, but I would open it to the public.
Let's hear what the public has, and then we'll
That's fine.
come back to you guys. Yep.
You'll definitely get your chance.
Does anybody in the public like to speak at this time? If so, please step up to the podium and, yes, sir. And introduce yourself so we know.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Todd Fahey from Bank Prov. I appreciate Mr. Kennedy's comments, and I would simply say that we have said repeatedly, and I really appreciate all the time you've spent on this and the deliberation and the thought you've given to the nuances of it, but I do fear that we're getting lost. We're losing the global picture about what's going on. In a letter that I submitted, I think August 27th, I talked about beyond the MUND, there's a hyper-focus on the MUND, there's still other things this board is required to consider, among which are traffic and circulation and pedestrian safety. And we've said all along, although we welcome a redevelopment, I can say that it's going to be a hard no for there to be an offloading and off-burdening of this 7-space overuse in the front onto the Bank Prov lot. And I'm just going to say, you know this isn't going to work. I mean, Mr. Kennedy gave the numbers, but think about it. How is a commercial venture going to work with just a few people coming in for a couple coffees? It's not going to work. So those folks are going to be coming and going, parking on the Bank Prov lot, and it's going to be more than a bit chaotic in the front of this building. I still think these folks are still trying to do too much on this lot. They could right-size the project, maybe make it a bit smaller so that they have more parking. They could move things around. They could comply with this letter and spirit of the MUND. And I know they spent a lot of time, as have you, on this project, but it's going to be here for a long time, as Mr. Kennedy said, and I've said that repeatedly. And this board, and you've even heard other members of your community talking about, the board's obligation to look forward and think about what happens in the future here. And once this gets built, this problem in the front is truly going to be set in pavement and stone. And so it is a problem. And I would refer you back to my letter of 8/27. The requirements of this board is a precondition of approval to deal with things like safety and pedestrian safety and all of those things, in addition to the MUND. We do welcome, as the bank, a redevelopment, but this one just seems like it's too much. Maybe you scale it down, move it around a little bit so the intent is kept, but I can't see how this works. And with all due respect to the skilled presenters and the owner and the abutter, and I mean no disrespect to them. Their job is to get this project approved. They're fond of the project, and they spend a lot of time on it. But we all know what's going to happen when you approve it. you're going to have offloading of the burdens of this project onto the bank. And the bank also has spent a lot of time here. Let's not forget that. They bought this, they've well landscaped it, they've well maintained it, and they do have rights. They're also paying taxes in this town. So I just want to make that point so we don't get too enamored with the developer's project to the detriment of other needs. So that's all I'm going to say. I think Mr. Kennedy said it well. A right sizing of this project that's not going to spill over the burdens and affect the safety of the people in the bank would be something we would certainly be happy to talk to the bank about. But I leave it to you all at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. As you probably know, my name is Chris Hilson. I'm an attorney at Donahue, Tucker, and Chandela. I'm not wearing the uniform this evening, so I hope you apologize. It's not a reflection of my posture towards this tribunal. I'm going to keep it even shorter, hopefully, than Attorney Fahey. I've wasted no small forest of trees writing our position. I represent REL Commons, LLC, the Margaritas Plaza. You've heard me talk over and over again. I'm here to, again, register my client's objection to this proposal right now. And as Attorney Fahey said, at the end of the day, it's trying to do too much on a lot that cannot sustain this. I look at the landscaping plan that was submitted today, and I'm not maligning the landscape architect. I'm sure he or she did the best that she could, but what I was struck with is the relative proportions of what's being landscaped on that plan versus what is going to be improved. In other words, if you look at that, the landscaping is meager relative to every square inch of that lot, otherwise being paved, structure on it, or having pervious pavers put on it. There's very little landscaping relative to the size of that lot that's there right now. So I hope it's not lost on this board that all of the abutters have consistently come out and have opposed this project. There hasn't been a meaningful change to the nature of this project in response to those articulated concerns. And so I'm here to simply reserve my client's rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Pretty nervous, but anyway.
That's okay.
Mary Nelson and I live in Exeter. And we had a pedestrian hit in that parking lot last week, right in front of Dollar General, hit by a car going too fast. So these concerns are very important. But my concern is that we live in a historic town. We live in a town that we don't want every green space built on. So what if everybody can't live in Exeter and that we have lots that should be preserved? We have green spaces. My problem is not that a certain number of units is going in a particular place. It's the density. Look at the Front Street project. That's going to be a horrible consequence on that neighborhood. Look at what's happening at J.D. Hill. We don't have to take down every tree. We don't have to do away with our green space. We don't have to do away with the historic flavor of our town. Thank you. I'm 80 years old, and I won't be here to see the consequences of these things, but I love this town. I love New England. There is a reason that I'm here and not in Massachusetts.
Well said.
Well said.
Here, here.
Thank you very much.
I don't know how much green space there is on that existing lot, but I
Very
appreciate
little.
the sentiment.
More
I
in
appreciate
this-
the sentiment.
More in this proposal.
Violation of everything.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else like to speak?
Excuse me,
I don't have to get it out. How many units were proposed? I missed that last, I wasn't here for the last.
It's okay, I just want to give you a mic. You have to speak into a mic. Can I? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm from the McLean condos. My name is Michael Siegel. I was just wondering, I missed the last meeting. I was wondering, how many units were proposed other than the coffee shop? Was it 14 or 12 or?
Residential.
Residential.
Units.
And what was the square footage? Just
I don't have that memorized. You have it? You don't either? The square footage of the entire building?
no, the square footage of the unit. Just curiously.
Oh.
14
And
on
what-
three floors, I believe.
Correct.
That,
And they might change.
What's the gross square footage divided by 14? Yeah, thank you.
While they're doing that, also, I was just curious, how many parking spots were provided for the residential units?
14.
14?
One
Yeah.
per unit.
one point, and that's the law in New Hampshire.
Okay.
I know, but that's the law. That's what we have to work around.
Is it 685?
I'm getting an average of that.
685.
Well, actually, it's 560 because you gotta take out.
Cut out the shop on the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's-
580, roughly 580.
Okay.
Off of the gross building area, so it would be less than that with hallway stuff, but roughly. Not huge.
No.
So they're basically one bedrooms.
I would expect it, but they might do a studio and have a two-bedroom, you know what I mean? It's an average.
Okay.
We don't have a floor plan.
All right, thank you.
Yep, it's a good question.
Okay. Let's have you folks speak, please.
All right, thank you. I'll try to address a couple of these things here. I appreciate the commentary as usual. Unfortunately, I have to do this for the record. I do have to object to both Mr. Hilson's and Mr. Fahey's testimony this evening. These statements have been made repeatedly over and over again. We've heard the same thing. There has not been a new argument presented in at least 3 meetings. So I object to that testimony to preserve that for our client on the record. To address Mr. Kennedy, I really appreciate that you took the time to go through everything. It doesn't often happen. To Mr. Brown's point, I believe that you're incorrect in your assessment of this. And I'm going to quickly walk through the ordinance and try to explain that, and also to not repeat myself from the last couple of meetings. When an engineer submits a plan set for site plan review and is willing to put a stamp on that plan set, that is a warrant that the engineer has went through the relevant engineering standards and that what has been presented complies. That conclusively proves that the site is designed in a safe manner. So when we talk about safety, if we have stamped plans and we comply with the engineering standards and metrics that the engineers use, you've been provided a safe plan per your ordinance and per the state RSA. That's catechism in New Hampshire and every other state in the country. So I respect having a different opinion about how a site is going to operate, but I disagree with your opinion. And a lot of the opinion that I've heard here, we can't use conjecture. We have to use math. The rule is math at these hearings. It's does the applicant comply with the ordinance? Has the applicant complied with procedure? Can they somehow obtain a stamped plan? So now we're safe and we've complied. So the conjecture, I respect it, I understand what you're saying, but it's not the standard that we have to meet for approval, and it's also not the standard that you are allowed to apply to approve or deny. In this case, so I'm addressing that, saying that we have provided an active, safe, and walkable site pursuant to engineering at this location. If you just look at the plan, this building cannot slide forward. So you're right, the MUND hopes to have buildings forward and hide parking in the rear. But because of actions of this board, not this particular board and these members, but because of this exact board, this property cannot change from a layout standpoint unless we put a shed on it or a camper van, right? It's not even allowed in the zone. We cannot slide this forward. The ingress and egress is finite on this property. It's not going to change. It cannot change. So we cannot comply with that. We can't move this property. No other application is going to come here and slide that building forward because they can't. We'd be sued by Bank Prov or the new bank that would be there, and they would win because we have to leave the property where we leave. There's no other option. So where do you slide to in an ordinance? Well, then you have to apply, well, what's reasonable under the state law? And that would be, well, leave the building where it is. And that's what we've done. So we can't front on the street. It's actually impossible at this property. And it is the responsibility of the board, to your comment, to assess that and then roll off to the reasonable standard that you're compelled to use when evaluating all applications before you. Regarding the traffic expert, Kim Eric Hazavardian has a PhD in traffic science, which I didn't even know you could get that at college, but that's what Kim has. We've worked with him a lot. We use what's in the ordinance, so it doesn't call coffee shop. And you're right, there's a subjective possibility of using a different engineering standard. However, what we're supposed to do as the applicant is use the specific ordinance and the standard provided by that ordinance, and we've done that here. The definition of a restaurant, just so we're super clear, from Merriam-Webster, as of this evening, a business establishment where meals and refreshments are sold to customers. So that's exactly what we are proposing here, a business establishment where meals and refreshments are sold to customers, hopefully inside and outside. Restaurant is the appropriate term to use here, so square footage is irrelevant because we are applying the ordinance's seat count properly. And that is in good faith. We did, we've heard from the public that the applicant hasn't made changes, but the applicant, in fact, has made changes. So square footage is not relevant under this ordinance and should not be the standard and cannot actually be the standard that you would judge this particular commercial space on. It is seat count, and we comply. So I'm not meaning to go hard to the paint here, but I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we have provided an application that fully complies with the ordinance and the state law, and an application, we've done the best that we can, knowing that this building has to be located where it is located because of a forced ingress and egress that was part of a planning decision where the owner of this property actually objected. So talking about putting everything in concrete and pavement for the next 100 years, we can see the effect of that because now this property owner, who's highly burdened intentionally by the original developer in limiting the lot size, was then further limited at their objection by this board, forcing the driveway and laneway as it is designed and shaped. There's nothing that we can do about that, nor is there anything any other applicant can do about that. And we've proposed this using the exact traffic pattern that has been in use on this property for decades now, intentionally, and we're not proposing any overburdening, to Mr. Fahey's point, of the neighboring lots, because we have found a way using math to provide all of the parking required for both the commercial space and the residential space per your ordinance on the property. And we are utilizing an easement, accessing Bank Prov, and then to get onto our property, which is the only way we can do that because of the DOT curb cut forced on the applicant by the Planning Board of Exeter. So there is no other, we're not forcing access or parking on any other lot with what we're proposing. And so, with respect, I appreciate the analysis, but it is incorrect. We have applied the correct standard. That's why we have experts that are stamping letters and plans. That is the immediate and finite evaluation of what is safe. So all of the laneway, the sizes, turning, ingress, egress, stall sizes, curb cuts, curb heights, all of that is warranted as safe with a stamped plan. That's how the law works in New Hampshire. We're trying as hard as we can to accommodate reasonable requests here from both the public and the board by manipulating the site to the best of our ability. But this is a limited site, I agree. There's not a lot that we can do with this. I think what we've proposed is highly reasonable and legal. I think that the more important part of this is that we are proposing a legal site plan. And that's the standard of review. There's no other standard, respectfully. So that's what I have tonight.
And I would just expound on that very briefly. Certainly, I am no licensed traffic engineer, but specific to the use of this proposed coffee shop, to contemplate 104 vehicle trips in and out of that thing in the peak hour, that's baffling to me, because this is not a Dunkin' Donuts. This is not, pick a chain or even a small coffee/donut place that just serves the general public, is not within a residential building. This is going to largely be utilized by the residents. Am I saying that nobody's going to come in here from the public and get coffee? Absolutely not. But the numbers that ITE is projecting, when it talks about a coffee shop, they are using, their model is based on existing standalone coffee shops, likely many of them with drive-through lanes, many more seats than what this particular facility will have. And, I guess as Josh mentioned, I would defer to Mr. Haas of Atarian, and we can certainly have him review the testimony provided by Mr. Kennedy and provide, a response to that to the board, a formal response to that to the board. But I just think it's a complete mischaracterization of how this restaurant is actually going to function. I do not see this becoming a huge public draw where people are going to take a left across 2 lanes of traffic on Portsmouth Avenue to go in there exclusively because that's where they've got to get their coffee. I just don't foresee that as a reasonable possibility.
And to expound on that, I've worked with Kim for almost 2 decades in many, many zoning matters. We're not friends, we're professional colleagues, but there's not some sleight of hand here where some standard was used that in an inappropriate way. Like, these guys will lose their licenses if they lie to you or lie to the public on the record. The standard that was applied is the correct standard for a restaurant in Exeter, just as the seat count is the correct standard and not square footage for a restaurant in Exeter. So he's not here to defend himself, but the standard that was used in the letter is correct.
And final comments for me, and this is just specific to the project meeting the MUND. Obviously we went through a technical review with all of the department heads. That includes the code enforcement officer, who is the gentleman that determines whether or not a project meets that code. And by virtue of having the pavilion out front, the covered coffee bar or cafe bar, the parking is technically behind that or beside it. Yes, is it in front of the primary building, those 7 stalls? Well, of course it is. And again, you know, I'll reiterate, we are providing a hell of a lot more open space, green space, and pervious area on this property than what exists there now and what has existed there for probably over 50 years. But it seems to me that if the folks that wrote and the gentleman that enforces these codes assumed at TRC and determined at TRC that this meets the MUND ordinance, I would defer to him, I suppose.
Thank you.
He's not the ultimate authority.
I understand that, but this is the gentleman that makes decisions.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have a board, Christian, but I appreciate.
I'm not saying he's going to tell you guys how to vote, but he's the one that determines if something meets a letter of his code that he's there to enforce.
And Doug's always right.
I don't disagree with that.
I just want to clarify one point. First of all, I was not saying that Kim Asvadi was lying. I've known Kim for 40 years. We've worked together. He applied the wrong code on this. He's estimated this is going to generate 4 trips, 2 entering and 2 exiting in the AM peak hour. If you asked him to check that, I guarantee you he'll tell you.
No, we certainly will. And we certainly will.
Right.
But I can almost guarantee you he's not going to come up with 104 either.
Do you want to bring it back?
Yep. Well, I'm going to close the public session at this point so the board can deliberate and make some decisions, I guess.
So Marty, this is your turn to
I don't know what else.
got your
to say.
rebuttal. Well, you went and you kind of, spilled your gut.
Yeah, so.
But you got your rebuttal, so this is to us, this
Right.
is not open now, this is closed at this point.
I didn't hear anything in the rebuttal that changed my mind. Everything that I said before, I stand by.
In support of Marty's comments, and if you look at our general standards, the vehicular and pedestrian traffic, it says safe, adequate, and convenient vehicular and pedestrian traffic must be maintained both within and adjacent to the development. To this end, all site plans must address the following items. It lists several items. Where was I going? Interconnection of parking areas via access drives within and between adjacent lots in order to provide maximum efficiency, minimize curb cuts, and encourage safe and convenient traffic circulation. I mean, they're talking about adjacent properties as well as the developing property, and how we have to be cognizant of the safety of pedestrian and vehicular traffic through both of those areas. And I don't know that that's, I mean, they're an island. You are so restricted by what you have. You're an island with roaring seas around you, and you can't control what's going on around you. As you've quite eloquently described in your presentation. So I understand that, but it's hard to just look at that island and not be concerned about what's happening outside of it and how that impacts your.
Completely understand, and as Josh mentioned
Just
earlier.
the board, my friend.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We're maintaining existing travel path.
My question is, if I'm not mistaken, there is a stop sign currently at the front of Blue Ribbon, just where the sidewalk is shown. So the traffic coming out stops there to see that it's a safe situation to continue. So the question is that stop sign going to remain there? I don't know about any other signage either.
May I respond?
I'm asking you a question, please respond.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the stop sign is proposed and has been from day one. It is right next to the stop text.
Yep.
On the pavement, that would be the painted text.
All right, thank you.
So I'll speak a little bit about my current position. I think the letter and spirit of the MUND is pretty paramount, and I don't see it being met by this current configuration. I really am troubled by that. I generally really try to work hard with applicants at this board to gain my support. And I feel like this commercial endeavor on the front, what I've heard is it's really just a Keurig for the people that are going to live in the project. So it's really not an independent commercial endeavor, which I think is part of the MUND. It's also a token location, putting it in the front of the project to meet the MUND. But the parking layout, with the majority being on the back, but a bunch in between, it feels like we're trying to go through serious gyrations to meet the MUND. And I understand the challenges of the site, I believe. I don't understand why the building can't move forward. I don't get that, how we can have parking spots in front, but we can't have a building in front because we're limited to our egress. That makes no sense to me. If the building was in front towards the streetscape and all your parking was in the back, I'm not sure what the egress issue is at that point. It seems to be the same as what I'm looking at now. For me personally, that's been a challenge with looking at this current configuration of the project. I think you gentlemen have worked hard and your teams have worked very hard to meet the requirements and have fought some strenuous opposition from your abutters. I think the parking limitations of the site itself are mitigated by the open spaces around it and by the nature of the MUND. So I think, from my perspective, it's mostly, I don't see it, if that little coffee kiosk was going to be put out there as just a commercial endeavor, independent on its own, it's like a lemonade stand. Most people that get coffee that I see that are going to generate the trips that I think you were referring to, Marty, are probably in a vehicle that they don't get out of. Do you know when you're looking at that standard, if that is?
The standard the ITE trip generation standard that I referred to is for a coffee shop without a drive-through.
Without a drive-through?
There are others. There's another category that has the drive-through.
So it must be even higher, significantly.
It is. I mean, it's a different characteristic.
Yeah.
So a coffee shop like that. This is, I think, it's approximately like 1,100 square feet or so. So a coffee shop of that size, and if it doesn't have a drive-through, then people. The tendency is going to be, some of the residents will use it, but the tendency is going to be for people who are on their way to work, they're going to drop in and they're going to run in and try to get a quick coffee and a bagel or whatever, and they're going to run out. And that generates quick turnaround, and that's the issue. And so, like I said, if there was some other use that wasn't, it's the intensity of the use combined with the few parking spaces creates the problem. And in particular, what concerns me is because of the 7 parking spaces out front, which, again, the MUND says you can't have. Right. Those spaces are basically forcing these people who are going to park at the bank to be running across the driveway, which you're going to have cars coming in, and you're going to have cars backing out. That's my primary problem, is the 7 spaces and the people who are going to be crossing that driveway to run in and get their coffee. If those 7 spaces weren't there, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it. And by the way, I think overall, the entire plaza there's plenty of parking spaces. There's just not enough parking spaces right here.
The way it's laid out.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's been pointed out that.
Yeah, and you can always park over at Margaritas. There's plenty of parking over there.
Yeah.
I won't get in.
Just seems very awkward to me. I don't know. I just.
We've This is a totally different subject, but we've never talked about the architectural standards in this building. And I think those have fallen short too. If you, once again, look at the MUND and look at the description of what they are asking for and would like to see, this falls short of that. You know, it repeatedly talks about kind of honoring traditional New England architecture. And this is quite modern. They don't have a lot of the details, the embellishments on the building that they talk about in the MUND. Roof lines, cornices. I mean, there are a lot of things that are missing in this that I think were expected in any building that was proposed in a MUND project. That seems somewhat small compared to what we've been talking about, but it's a building, it's going to be there for a long time, and it should meet our MUND requirements.
Well, I'll add something that you think, what you said is small. Mine is, I'm concerned about the loading area for that door. That's a one-way, narrow, little alleyway between the two buildings, and you're going to have, think about downtown here, when they're unloading for our restaurants, there are little nooks at these bigger trucks with their produce or
They just park right in the street.
supplies.
Yeah.
Well, we have that area. That's not.
It doesn't have it, no.
There is too much on what's being proposed there overall. I just, pedestrian, I second everything that's been said on this tonight, and then I threw in the loading area that is a concern to me.
I would agree with you too. And they park on the street for small restaurants in town.
They have
And they're
that,
right
and
on
they
the
have
road.
this municipal parking lot where
Yeah.
they sneak in and kind of stay out of the way. Yeah, that's not possible there.
And they're both in parking cars.
I mean, they did say they were going to park in the back, but the two-wheeler, whatever they're going to bring in.
Not getting aggressive, Mr. Chairman, I just need to stretch.
It's okay. I've been
I
there.
I'll be doing that.
It doesn't like to stay in one position for an hour.
You can pace if you need to.
I think he just puffed his chest at you.
I certainly did.
Let me remind the board, if we choose to deny, we have got to give our reasons for that decision. So that, we need to keep that in mind, so. And I do believe we do need to make a decision tonight.
Yeah.
And I think the board would agree with that.
Sure.
So how do you, I mean, you're getting a little bit of a straw poll of your board already, right? I mean, we haven't heard from a
little
couple
bit.
people, but it would be good to hear
I guess
that.
I'm looking to Carol in terms of how much of those reasons need to be in a motion.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part?
How much of our justification for denying the language needs to be in the motion?
Well, there are two things. I mean, you need to have very specific reasons for the denial.
Yes.
So that the applicant knows, what they could possibly do.
Yes.
But also, you need to include findings in your decision, and in those findings is where we can place a lot of these other comments that support your decision. So the specifics would be the reasons for the denial, but then some of that ancillary issues
Okay.
can be your supporting reasons. And I can, draft all of those up once you're through discussing, if that's where you go tonight.
you want to hear from the rest of the board, if they're willing to share before you?
Sure,
Before, 'cause, I mean, you've got a bunch of different motions, but if we're teetering on a denial, it doesn't make a lot of sense to talk about a sidewalk waiver motion for very long.
No.
So my thought would be the reverse of our order, typical order, and
Okay.
talk about the site plan motion first.
Yep.
If it looks like the board is going to deny the current application versus the other four in front of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if it's all right with you, I want to have a little bit of a discussion about
Yes.
the big kind of item of the building location. Because I agree with Aaron. I still don't understand why it's not possible. I know we're hearing adamantly that it is absolutely not possible to move the building. So I guess my question is, if that's the position of the owner, the applicant, that the building can't be moved, and it's the position of the board that the building must be in the front of the property in order to qualify for MUND relief, or in order to qualify as a MUND, are we saying that this parcel is therefore not in the MUND overlay district? And is that, can we do that?
If it doesn't meet the standards of the MUND, it doesn't meet the standards of the MUND, regardless of the restrictions of the site. If the site has restrictions that don't allow it to meet the criteria,
Of the MUND?
it doesn't meet the criteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they can't build on it.
That's right.
Just not under the.
Just not under the
They
MUND?
can't meet the criteria of the MUND.
Right.
My understanding, and this, correct me if I'm wrong, is the intent is new buildings should be to the front. What I read is you cannot have parking in front of the building, and that's what they have.
Well, they're technically going to tell you they don't because it's behind the lemonade stand.
No, it's in front of the building, and that's not allowed.
Behind the lemonade stand.
The ordinance says you can't have off-street parking in front of the building. And so I'm not as sure about, the exact language of the placement of the building, but as shown in that plan, I don't think those 7 spaces.
I think the intent is to create a streetscape.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the
With
intent.
buildings towards the front, close to the street.
That's correct.
To encourage people to utilize the buildings and to create more of a quote-unquote downtown feel versus frankly what the Margaritas Plaza is, which is a huge, vast parking strip, and then you get to the property, right? So it's reversing that, which is just more modern, I think, in terms of development, and certainly what the MUND is.
If they had, let's say they had that building, didn't have the parking, didn't have the 7 spaces, and had the building maybe halfway towards Portsmouth, and had a nice walkway from the sidewalk that went up to the front door, I would say that meets the MUND. But again, the problem, and this is just me, the biggest issue I'm having here is more of a safety issue. It is the 7 parking spaces, which is not allowed by the MUND, but that creates the safety concern with pedestrians crossing the street. And the MUND says we want to protect the pedestrians. Pedestrians shouldn't be walking across these driveways against traffic, and that's why the parking should be in the back. That's my primary concern.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Marty. I think that is, if there's like a concrete reason why this site plan is not complying with MUND regulations, to me, it's the parking in front of the building. And then there's the whole host of issues that causes.
Yeah,
But that's like the
safety-
concrete thing.
Yeah, there's the parking plus the safety issues that are caused by that parking.
The applicant has already argued against us using the word safety.
I heard that.
Which, so I'm trying to avoid that. But the parking is in front of the mixed-use building. That is the building. It's behind the covered espresso bar, which I think is not the mixed-use building. So I think that's pretty clear.
So I don't think I've ever been in a vote where we've denied something and given a list of our criteria for denial. Have you? I've never, so this is different.
Agree.
I'm not sure what that's about. I think the testimony is already there. And I would typically say, for reasons stated. But that's up to you, ultimately. Or I would guess you could say in addition to, but that makes it a little challenging to propose a motion to you, Lang. Unless Carol's working on one over there.
Carol, is that what you're doing? Are you drafting a motion? Or are you just are you taking notes?
I'm trying to organize your comments into findings and specific reasons for a
Okay.
denial.
Good, thank you.
Just a thought, do you need more than one? Isn't one sufficient? Do we need a long list?
I don't.
We have the testimony.
I'm of the opinion you don't need a list, but.
Okay, but I mean, everything that was said is on the record.
Yes,
But-
exactly. For the reasons stated.
Every reason.
It's not the same as.
I'm sticking by everything that I've
It's not the
said.
same as approval with conditions. It's not denial with conditions.
Yeah,
With
there's no
reasons,
conditions.
it's denied.
Yeah.
But I would state for reasons stated during the hearing.
That's what I would say.
Never hurts, though.
In relationship to the MUND? Can you say the MUND concept or the expectations of the MUND or the requirements of the MUND?
Requirements.
Or the requirements of the MUND.
How you doing with the list?
Well, what I have heard so far, for specific reasons that you have expressed, the parking that is in the front, even though it's behind the coffee bar, it's, in toward the front of the building, that's not consistent with the requirement. These are what I'm going to read out. These are specific requirements of the MUND. So the parking being in the front where it's not allowed, the building design not meeting the requirements of the MUND in terms of, design and materials and those sorts of things. The loading area is believed to be not functional, if I understood that correctly. Pedestrian safety continues to be a concern, and the lighting fixtures were found to also not be compliant in terms of their design. So far, that's what I have for specifics. In general, many of you expressed that the plan overall does not meet the spirit and intent of the MUND.
How do you
Mr. Chair,
turn that
can I-
into a motion?
Could I clarify one point there that I've heard?
Lang, there's a question before you.
Excuse me?
May I clarify a point that I just heard there, please?
Sure.
Thank you. We are willing, on the issues of the lights and other items, the applicant is willing to work with staff to upgrade a light fixture, change a planting, what have you. So I just want that to be clear.
So you're saying you're willing to continue the,
No, meaning that we, before everything went off the rails, I would say, I had been forming a list here of the items that the board was asking about, i.e. shifting the bike rack, making the walkway 5 feet by shifting the kiosk, moving the ADA compliant access to a different location in the front, changing the pole-mounted light style, which is what I just heard Carol talk about, regrading the path by half a percentage. So the applicant's willing to do all of that. I just wanted that to be clear so that it wasn't part of the denial. I mean, it can be, but we would have to correct that on appeal anyways. So willing to work with staff to change those items. And then also with the architecture, we didn't really talk through that, but those are things also that, in my opinion, we could easily work with staff to correct as far as parapets, design, textures, sidings, all that stuff. So that stuff to me, I think, is easy, but applicant's willing to handle that.
okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
You're opening
Yes,
it up now
gentlemen,
to the public again.
It's closed, public session's closed right now.
Well, I understand, but if it's closed for me, it's closed for them, sir? Really? I mean, it's muddling the record. This is really it's really going to muddle your record. The public hearing was closed. I wouldn't move to strike all that.
The applicant has the ability to move to open or to answer a question even after the.
Okay, we're in the middle of a hearing, and it's closed to the public. If you gentlemen want to talk outside, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
So regardless of the recent comments by the attorneys in the room, we have a plan in front of us.
Yes, we do.
That's what we have in front of us.
That's what we have to do.
We can deny the plan in front of us, regardless of the applicant's willingness to jump through the moon to change it. This is what we have in front of us.
Yep.
So if Carol is driving us in a direction of listing out some specifics, some of the specifics do relate to the plan in front of us. They may not be the bigger issues, like Marty brought up, you need one, and they're not the bigger one, but it's, having that, if she wants to put that in the motion, I think it's appropriate, because we're voting on what we have in front of us, not what we might get back, or that's all speculation, right?
I guess I don't think we, in my opinion, I don't think we need to make this overly complicated. It seems to me that we ought to be able to deny it based on the fact that we believe it does not meet the intent of the MUND or meet the requirements of the MUND.
In the past, that's what we've always done.
Everything else is in the testimony.
This is a different approach. We've never listed out specific things.
I don't know how that helps us.
I can think of an occasion where we had to circle back and list appropriate things because it wasn't clear in our deliberations. But that was something that we eventually had to do. So I feel like this is sort of crossing our Ts and dotting our Is.
It is, but the end of it should say included but not limited to, as far as I'm concerned, because she could miss something very easily. There's been months of testimony.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about repairing and.
And we need to have, one of those needs to be the, I'll say, position of the building.
Yeah.
Never mind the outside, but the position of it, you know.
Correct.
Why it can't be moved ahead, yeah.
Right.
We don't discuss that, but yeah.
You ready?
So if it said, for example, if this is going to be a denial, that the site plan of the proposed bond project is denied for the following reasons, that the board finds that it does not meet the spirit and intent of the MUND, nor the requirements of the MUND, including but not limited to, and list just a few of these, the more salient ones.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Okay. So I would strike lighting from that list. Pedestrian safety and parking were probably two concerns that came up quite a lot. I would say for the reasons stated in the record.
Works.
Do you want to make a motion, Marty?
Sure.
Why don't you try to make a motion?
I can do that. How do we want to do, I mean, do you want me to get to the point where she reads the specifics, or?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at the last page there,
Okay.
where it's, you read the whole part and then it
Yeah.
comes down to denied, I assume is what you're
Yeah,
going to say.
and then,
For,
yeah, and then you'll pick it up, or do you want to give me that first?
you should have her read it to you first.
Okay.
And then you say, for those reasons previously read by
Okay.
the town planner.
Okay, so why don't you read those for me?
Okay.
Basically what you had said before, including the reasons.
Okay. Do you want me to start with?
It doesn't matter. I'll redo the front part, but
Okay, I had said that, that the proposed MUND project be denied for the reasons stated in the record, including but not limited to, the board finds that the project does not meet the spirit or intent of the MUND ordinance, nor does it meet the requirements of the ordinance, including but not limited to the location of parking and concerns about pedestrian safety. I think those two are probably sufficient.
okay. Does that sound right for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Include position of building?
She said included but not limited to. I'm perfectly fine with the testimony as it
Okay.
stands. I think it's a fine motion. We got to get there eventually, right?
Yep.
Okay, I move that the request of J. Kelly Associates, Planning Board Case 25-3 for site plan approval of the proposed MUND project be denied for the reasons stated by Carol Ogilvy.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We got
Do a hand
Nancy.
vote.
Roll call vote.
I say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 It's a unanimous vote. The motion passes. Thank you.
I would like to thank you all for your time on this.
You as well.
I don't care for the
thank you for
outcome,
your
but truly
You as
do
well.
appreciate everything you guys do.
Oh, that's in yours, Chris.
Get some ice on it.
That'll be my first move.
Poor guy.
They're not able to.
Thank you.
Then you start physical therapy, and you realize all those muscles you haven't moved lately are atrophied. Surrounded or tightened up.
Of course.
Oh, God, so here we go again. Now we've got
I'm not leaving. I just need to.
Just got to stretch for a second.
I've nursed my wife through 2 knee
Not
replacements.
bad. 10.
Her best friend was
Okay, thank you.
soft back.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. I like the sound.
Take care of yourself.
Good luck.
Oh, I will.
Oof. Ahab.
It's a slow process, but we'll get there.
You need a little parrot on your shoulder, Christian.
An eye patch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know what you dressed up for Halloween as. Arr.
Yeah, well, with all the eye surgeries I've been through, that's not out of the realm of possibility either.
Yeah, this
I really
Wow.
need to-
Tell to get old.
I sure.
Okay, you're only halfway there.
I meant I needed it.
We need to talk.
Thank you for
Good night.
Oh, we have another piece on the agenda here. I have a memo from Melissa Roy, our interim town planner, regarding the Exeter Police and Fire Substation project. Though we recognize the planning board is aware of this project through the CIP process in accordance with New Hampshire RSA 674:54, the town of Exeter is providing formal notification of its intent to construct a police and fire station on 6 Continental Drive, identified as tax map parcel number 47-404-11. As the proposed use is a, quote, governmental use, unquote, which is exempt from local land use regulations, I would appreciate a decision tonight as to whether the planning board intends to request a formal public hearing on this issue. A copy of the plans and supporting documents are enclosed for your review. So Melissa's here to explain this to us and see if how nice we'll be. No.
So, just to clarify, I'm the interim town manager, not town planner, just want to make sure.
Oh, excuse me.
And I have with me Corey Stevens, our finance director. So thank you for seeing us on such short notice. In full disclosure, at about 3:30 this afternoon, it became apparent to us that there might have been a process that we might have missed. And so I'd like to go back just a little bit and explain that Corey and I
Are not planners.
are not, are not planners. And we have been leading the group of folks working with our architect and our construction manager, as well as our internal town staff, since our town planner has been on leave for this police station, fire substation. We started that process, and David helped us to understand that, we're a governmental use on governmental property, so that we would be exempt from some of our own regulations. Unfortunately, he then went out, and unfortunately, it slipped through the two of us that I think what would have been the second part of that is there's still a notification process that needs to happen that Corey and I missed. And I am so sorry that we're asking to come before you tonight. But essentially, we have a requirement to notify the planning board and the select board of what is happening on that property, and at which point you can decide if you would like us to go through a formal planning board review process, or since we're a governmental agency, those people that work with us on a normal TRC are already part of the group working together and already helping to make sure that the project is meeting all of the necessary qualifications. But I am very sorry that this was so last minute. And then I did try to give you a new memo that asked that question about making a decision tonight a little nicer. So sorry about that. So the RSA does say that you guys would have 30 days and to decide if we need to go through that process. But again, all of those folks that would be part of our process besides coming to you, we're also happy to come to you anytime you'd like us to if you want us to give you updates or whatever you need. But that is why we are here tonight.
I mean, from my perspective, sorry.
Go ahead.
From my perspective, the benefit of you coming here would just be to letting the public know what's
information.
going on, not really not really arrogant enough to think our input is going to sway the way the project goes, because it has no weight to it. But I think that would be the only benefit.
And we are happy to do that just as a course.
Yeah.
If you'd like us to come, every other month and give you an update or anything like that.
Right.
All of the board, we can make all of the plans available, this is a group effort and we want to make sure we get it right. Our job is to manage the risk for the town.
Sure.
Right? It's a big liability. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're doing everything to the best of our ability.
We're on the cusp of getting our 100% drawings in the next week or so. And at that point, we would be in a position where would want to talk about the project more formally to the board and to the planning boards. So it may be appropriate for us to come back, say, in January and say, hey, this is what it looks like. This is what the public's going to get.
Yeah.
Well, I've looked at these, and I can identify a few we did, as courtesy calls. We did it with the school district when they're trying to figure out where to put the trailers around the junior high school, and we made a suggestion, that's all we can do, that they move them around back and not right in the front of the building. They did that, and it worked much better. The state came to us when they were working on Route 27 there to put in their salt shed and so forth. And that's wetlands and so on. And I remember speaking with a gentleman who'd never come before, a planning board before. What am I supposed to do? And so I said, you do as darn well please, but it's a courtesy call, so we will probably make some suggestions, which involve the wetlands and setting positions of things. And they said, hey, thank you, we'll do that. So the school and the town. So I think that, those two things. So I look at this as sharing it with us. Oh, we were not able to do the high school because the select board had said they were going to take care of that.
Oh, okay.
So that was interesting because we're supposed to take care of land use. So
They big-footed you.
Yeah.
We'll be going to
So I know there's a lot of effort has gone into this, and it's for us to get a kind of bird's eye view, and because we haven't paid a real attention to it, we might say, gee, how about you make this go left instead of right or something? You say, well, we'll look at that and may or may not do it.
Yeah.
But that's all, I believe all authority we have is to make good suggestions.
You're correct.
So-
But I think it's important that we're all, on the same page
Yes,
to the best of our
absolutely, yeah.
ability. One thing I will say is that, this project was a little different. In the past, we would have a project and we would get the design, engineering all done, get a price, and that goes to the voters. This time, we got schematic and programmatic plans and got a budget, and then we value engineered the project to meet the budget so that we wouldn't go over budget.
Yes.
And in that process, we've made quite a lot of changes, all good, so that we continue to always be, I don't know about you, but I really don't want to go asking for any more money. So we now have I think the first plan had a 2,300 square foot building. We're at a 19,000 square foot building. Still functioning great, still meeting our programmatic needs and meeting the site needs and everything like that, but we had to make a lot of adjustments. The biggest concern or challenge is the building is a basic rectangle. We don't have a large budget. We've got it pretty small at this point. The site, and that was what we asked the team that is working with us. Where's the issue that could come up? We know an issue could always come up, but they said your most difficult piece is the site. You've got a lot of rock. You are in a very small footprint, so we had to be real creative of how we did things. So what we're trying to do is do some early site work to see if we come up with challenges that we weren't expecting within the site, so that we don't get so far that we can't value engineer something on the other end, so that we're always meeting the budget. So that is why the timeline for us is important. We're trying to get some information about the site before we get too far into snow season. So if it's amenable to the board, we're happy to bring plans to keep you, up to date in whatever format you'd like. If we would be able to do some of the site work and not have to wait and go through the formal notification process, that would be very helpful for us, because that's where we're concerned about the challenge, the biggest challenge that we have.
Our construction manager tells us that we've got at least 60 days of just moving boulders and crushing stuff before we even get a sense of what it looks like that way. So it's really to give us an opportunity to do that work and then know the unknown, so that we can either make budget adjustments and say we can't buy this, we needed to pay for that, but not disrupt the flow of the project getting done by, the next 18 months or so.
Melissa, can you just elaborate a little bit on the collaborative effort you all have been going through? You don't have to go into great detail, but the select board has been being updated, the budget recommendation committee conversations happen, but it has been a very interesting and collaborative.
Yeah, so for over a year, we're meeting weekly with all of the department heads involved, planning. Kristen from Conservation has been with us, the two of us, our engineering team, our architects. So I can't believe it's the chiefs, yeah. It's been, DPW, town manager's office. So it's a pretty big group of town staff that is working to make sure that we're sort of checking all of the boxes. So that's why I feel so bad that we missed this. But we're more than happy to, like I said, keep you in the loop, to come back to you with 100% of the construction docs so you guys can see the plans. So whatever works. We just would like to try to do some of the site exploration, which we're hoping to do before the snow.
So do you want us to do a site walk?
We'd love to have you come and do the site walk.
And we have to take a boulder with us when we leave.
I think if we could plan to say, come to the January meeting with the full 100% drawings and, give you a 15-minute or how long you like, overview of where the project is. And then we'd have a better sense then of how we made out over the next 60 days on our rock crushing too.
It's been a really interesting process. Things like, we started with, I think, two 12-foot or 14-foot high two-story building. Well, we couldn't afford that. So one is, we're lowering ceiling heights. We're we're reducing the depth of a slab and certain, the apparatus bay slab doesn't maybe need to be as thick or vice versa. And so we're really value engineering as much as we can, because we have a really tight budget and we have a very tight contingency. So the site work is really important for us to know. We've been able, the contractor has been able to work it out so that we sort of have a max price to get everything off site, so that we understand it's not how much comes out of the site. We have done that. I'm trying to think of all the things.
Yeah, I think you've said it all, and I think at the end of the day, the important thing is two things. One, we're building it within budget, and secondly, our chiefs are happy with the product, and they feel like they're going to be pleased with it. So we haven't necessarily ticked anybody off yet with what we've landed on.
We haven't made it
early.
Really interesting.
We're just getting started apparently here.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So do you think we need to have a vote about essentially foregoing the formal public hearing?
I'm curious if the Krista Murphy is involved in the conversation, so she's kind of reviewing it from an environmental.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because I feel like even if we're not, if the town's not required to follow all of its regs, it should still, follow the intention of the regulations in terms of.
There have been a number of things that Kristen has helped us with along the way, and now she's kind of become part of the weekly meeting. So yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, that's great to hear. My only other just quick suggestion, looking at this plan, is if you're trying to cut costs, the precast concrete paver parking lot could be, I know it has to be porous, but like, there's cheaper materials
Yeah,
there.
so that is a perfect example of, that when we get to some of the material decisions, we had discussion on, I'm gonna say this wrong, but like stone ground CMU block or painted CMU block in the apparatus bay. Like we're trying to pull out any, I think at one point we had, a beautiful lobby that's gone. It's very nice, it's clean, it's gonna be new and it's gonna be beautiful, but we're making some pretty significant choices of pulling everything back. And that is going to be one of them. I'm thinking that this plan was from the 75.
It has to be,
Yeah, so I actually think that's one of the things that's already been changed, but we'll double check that.
And then I guess, my only other sort of hesitancy to kind of give up the formal review is just, there are abutters that probably want to see this. So if there was a formal review, they would be notified. I'm sure they know what's going on and they're going to see all the rocks and everything, but
So
like.
it's in an industrial area, so they're all commercial properties. That's not to say that we're not going to notify them and let them know what's happening, who they can contact, all the normal pre-con, like we're doing a pre-con, we're notifying abutters, all of those things are happening.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, construction activity, they may have concerns about that impacting their business, for example. So things like that will come up in the pre-con.
That is 100% on our radar to get in
Great.
front of them shortly. We were talking about that earlier. A lot of things are coming together right now after sort of a sleepy period of getting ourselves to these 100% drawings and giving the architects another week or two as they needed it and making sure things were right as much as they could for the 100%. But now we're realizing, there's, talk to the abutters. Did you talk to the planning board? So lots of things are going to happen very quickly now for us. So, but that is one of the things that we will be doing very shortly.
So the question is, do we want to just have, in my mind, one meeting to have a presentation and look at that and
Yeah, I think what
continue?
they're asking for is to not have to deal with a formal public hearing.
Right.
And notifications in that regard. and
Yes, yeah.
Losing 30 days,
Yeah,
essentially.
yep, yep.
And I'm comfortable with that.
Yep.
I'm not sure, do you want to vote as a board? I think we probably should.
Yep, I do.
And then just have the handshake that you guys will come.
100%.
Yeah.
And is there,
Informal basis.
and is there a way to, if we do that, for them to notify the abutters of that meeting? Can that be done? I just notify them, I don't forget the time frame or what
Right.
needs to be done, but just
Yeah.
before the meeting, let them know.
Why not?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to be notifying them before that, but we're happy to
Okay.
notify them.
And it should be on our
as well.
agenda too,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, but nobody
Yes,
looks
this
at
was
the
not.
planning board agenda. and
No, I'm just saying it should be. It should be
Yeah.
on our agenda because you guys will know what's coming up.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about January, we make sure you get in front of us at one of our meetings in January.
That's what I was just
Yes.
going to ask.
Yeah.
Do you, and maybe I'm asking you, do we know what the dates are for January?
The first meeting of the month is the 8th,
Okay.
and then 2 weeks later, what is that, 22nd?
Yeah, I would say the 8th, given budget
That's what I was
season.
thinking
Well,
too,
let's see,
but I
what
don't
we
know
got.
what you guys have
Got
on
a second
your
meeting
agenda.
this month and one in December.
Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Correct. December 11th is your only meeting in December.
So do you think there's room on the 8th of January? Would you guys be ready for the 8th of January? Do you think there's room for the 8th of January?
Is that soon enough for you?
I would think so. You're probably, I'm thinking that you're going to have the public hearing on the amendments, but you'll see there are only 4 or 5, and nothing really major.
Right.
And so far, we have until the 25th of this month for any new applications. That would be on the 8th. We haven't heard of anything.
Okay, so that means there's
So
plenty of
I-
room.
I think
So
so.
my suggestion would be when you're making the agenda, put these guys first, because it should be short and sweet.
Absolutely.
And you guys got punished tonight, so.
Hey, it was, we were just thankful you were willing to listen to us, so thank you.
Is that
You want
soon
a
enough?
motion?
Yes.
I mean, we don't really have a case, but I'll make a motion for us to vote on something anyway.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yes,
All
please,
right.
make a motion. This
So-
is an easy one.
I think so, except I have to word it myself. I'm going to make a motion that the planning board votes to not have a formal hearing in regards to tax map parcel number 47-4-11, in regards to the construction of a new police and fire station at 6 Continental Drive, with the understanding that representatives will come to the January 8th meeting to do an informal presentation.
Perfect. That came out all right,
Is
didn't
that
it?
good for you?
That is perfect, thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you.
Second?
Oh, there's a second, okay.
So can I ask one question before we
You
vote?
certainly can.
You're coming to the select board
On Monday.
Monday night for,
We have some contracts to be signed, but it's similar things, so the RSA
Okay.
requires that we do the same thing
Then
to make sure that.
that's what I wanted to check.
To be truthful,
Yeah.
we're gonna be
It's
updating
just
you
whether
guys
I
pretty
vote or not
regularly,
tonight.
because
That's why I
that's what we
wanted
need
to
to
know.
do.
So,
But yes, to
thank
make
you.
sure that we're
Okay.
essentially doing the same thing we're doing right now.
So I'm going to abstain, but I'll wait till you call for the
Okay.
for the vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion? Those, do a voice vote, please. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One
Abstain.
abstention.
Thank you.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Thank you so much.
See you in a
Look forward
couple,
to
see you in
it.
a couple months.
Yeah, very.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. You guys all need to get home. It's
Getting
a little
late.
night for you guys.
It's getting late.
A lot further to drive, so.
Yeah, you want to,
See you Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything, unless Carol has something.
Carol, did you have anything else for the agenda tonight?
Just to let you know that regarding the amendments in your packet for your next meeting, I'll have draft language for you, so you have a chance to look at it before you review it publicly on the 11th, and then probably schedule a public hearing for the January meeting. And hopefully, there will only be one.
Yeah,
I make a motion to adjourn.
thank you. We stand adjourned.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings